Shirt show. All right, let's go.
Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Shirt, man! All right! Episode 264 of Shirt Show! We're talking with Adriane from Printing United Alliance in Pennsylvania. Let's go!
Hey guys, if you're new here, my name is Dylan. I am the owner of Upstate Merch and the host of the Shirt Show podcast. My guest today was Adriane. She's the HR person of all HR persons, in my opinion. She works for the Printing United Alliance, and she is there to help you. She is the guru. I wanted to have her on today. She answered a ton of our questions. It was very insightful to figure out when and how to implement HR and how important it is in a company like ours. We got into a lot of things, a lot of do's, a lot of don'ts, a lot of, just real feelings and how things should go and how you can make your shop better and how you can make the culture in your shop flow right. I think understanding HR and if you should have a person or not have a person, or you're just doing it yourself, when and where to implement it is key. I think if you're a smaller shop, maybe listen to this and be like, okay, there's things I can start doing now. Or if you're a larger shop, it's like, okay, these are things I'm lacking on and how I can improve them. So I hope you guys enjoy this episode. It was really great to get into all this with her, and she was super fun and very open to whatever it is I wanted to talk about. If you're looking to join a community of like-minded shop owners, maybe you should check out our Shirt Show Discord channel. It's in the description on the YouTube. It's in our Instagram link tree. Check it out. It's free. It's not anything complicated to do. You can have an app on your phone. You can have it on your desktop and your computer. It's a judgment-free area where you can go and talk about anything screen printing, embroidery, sales, stuff for sale. It's got everything, and we monitor it and we police it, and we don't let bullies or trolls in. So if you want to join a community that's just uplifting and is going to have a lot of good information, be sure to check it out. If you enjoy listening to the show, the best possible way you can support us is by sharing the show, liking, subscribing, leaving a comment on YouTube would be amazing. If you want to show me where you are when you're listening to the episode, tag us on Instagram in a story. That stuff goes a really long way for us and shows us that you guys are there. I'm the one who responds to the DMs on Instagram. Or you can email us. I would love to hear from you guys. Give me your feedback. Tell me what the show means to you. I just want to hear from you in general. So if you want to reach out, I would love to hear from you. This show would not be possible without our amazing partners. Frank. It all starts with a screen. Whether it's new stretches or restretches, Frank and his team do it the best. To find out more, go to graphicscreenfashion.com, greatfuckingscreens.com, or ffffrank.com. Cleaning screens is no fun, but EasyWay makes it way more funner. Their line of eco-friendly chemicals and equipment make reclaiming screens a whole lot easier. Right now is a great time to check them out because they have a new monthly giveaway where you can have a chance to win $250 in product credit. Head to easyway.com/giveaway to enter today. EasyWay is the easiest way. Graphics is your source for production-ready digital art and remote art staffing. They can help any size shop from just starting out to enterprise level. Looking to add a hero to your art department? Check them out at graphxsource.com. SNS Activewear and Alpha Broder are integrating to become your premier partner for the apparel industry with one website, one purchase order, and 14 distribution centers. With over 100 beloved brands, you can streamline your ordering and hit free freight faster than ever. SNS has 1 to 2 day shipping with the lowest error rate in the industry. Don't forget they have combined net term limits to benefit your business like never before. Be sure to order your blanks from ssactivewear.com. Today's episode is brought to you by American Apparel, makers of the iconic 2001. Soft, fitted, and always in style, this shirt has been the go-to for brands, bands, and print shops for decades. If you want a shirt people actually want to wear, start with the 2001. For over 90 years, Stahls has been the leading choice among apparel decorators for their heat transfer materials, heat press equipment, and custom transfer services. Not only do they offer some of the best products, but they're always looking to innovate and educate in our industry on all things heat press. Head over to stahls.com to order your transfers and check them out on YouTube to be taught a thing or two. Again, if you guys could please like, follow, subscribe, it helps us out the show a ton. I'd really appreciate it. It means a lot to me. I hope you guys enjoy this episode. It was super insightful and meaningful and hit me right in the feels. So I appreciate you. Thank you. Have a good one. We're here. We're alive.
Yeah,
That's
I love
nice,
your
right?
Pantone shirt. That's freaking awesome. If I would have known, I would have brought my Ramon shirt and worn that. We could have.
Oh, we could have matched.
Yeah,
we could have
we
been
could've.
twinsies. Well, thanks for moving things around a bit. It was kind of a crazy week for me, and
Yeah.
last night was a bit of a
Sounds
challenge
terrible.
as well.
Oof.
Yeah, I wasn't super stoked. Basically, we were headed to the airport, and Christina was going to drop me off, and it was like 5:30, and we got that notification, like classically, like you're waiting to just about to get to the airport.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, your flight got delayed. And it's like, ugh. And it's like, you're not going to make your connection. So then when we called, got a new flight, still was going to basically not make the connection, but we were looking at things and it was like, oh, well, your second flight will probably end up getting delayed anyway. So anyway, finally got to Newark. It was like 11:30. And then, the plane that I was supposed to get on was delayed, and then it just kept getting delayed. And then by about 1:30, they just canceled it.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, cool. Well, I'm not staying here. And also a ton of flights got delayed, and I wouldn't have been able to fly home until like the next, like another day,
Right,
like literally
right.
sitting
You
at the
would've
airport
been
all day
screwed.
long.
Yeah, everybody's
Yeah.
working the phones trying to find a place to stay or rent a car or.
So I ended up renting a car at 2 a.m., drove home, got home at 5:30, slept a few hours, came here. And now I'm here talking to you.
Dude, it's so rough. I'm so sorry. That sounds terrible.
It's okay. Like in all honesty, part of my high anxiety about getting home and making sure I was here was because I wanted to get this episode recorded, because I have never missed a Monday.
Yeah.
So I didn't want this to be the week where I wasn't going to make it. So, I'm here and I'm excited.
All right. Well, I'll try to make it easy on you. I'll try to be good.
No, I mean, you'll be great. I'm sure it'll all work out. So anyway, I started a conversation at the Apparelist event with Printing United about how I wanted to work together more with them, because I love the resources.
Yeah.
I love everything that they're trying to do. And I was like, hey, how do we get more of this education and more of this awareness out to people? And you were at the top of the list, basically, of like, hey, let's do an episode on HR.
Sure.
And then we're going to do one on the OSHA stuff, because that dude spoke at the event and I was just like, oh my God.
Yeah,
like,
Gary, it's like an aha moment when he speaks, because first, he just is so knowledgeable. And second, everybody realizes that they don't know what they're doing.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Yeah. Well, the scary part is like the way, and we don't have to get super into this because I'll talk to him about it, but it's just like the lingo for certain things.
Yeah.
Like the whole, like, don't call it setup, call it make ready.
Yeah.
Was just like, why? Like this shit is so dumb. Like, it's just because you use certain wording that you don't get in trouble with whatever. And it's like, this is insane.
There's a lot of that, I think. And Gary's awesome. You'll really enjoy talking to him. He's my closest colleague here at the Alliance, and he was my mentor when I joined the industry. So he's super knowledgeable, and he's wonderful, and I can't say enough good things about him. So
okay, good. For the listeners, can you give backstory on you and how you got to where you are, I guess?
Sure. So I like to say I have a short attention span when it comes to jobs and careers. So I've changed a few times.
So ADHD.
Yeah. I'm a very significant ADHD. I was the kid that wasn't allowed to sit on the couch with the family watching TV when I was young. I had to sit on the floor because I just moved too much. So.
Moving constantly. Yeah.
But that's how my brain works. I get bored, I move on. So this is actually, I joined the printing industry on Labor Day weekend, basically, of 2016. So it's the longest I've worked anywhere other than my one other significant career, which is I used to be a practicing lawyer. I was a litigator. And
you got bored of that? That seems like,
you know what? I had two kids really in quick succession. And I, as a litigator, had a pretty significant travel schedule, and that did not work with motherhood very well. So I stepped away and stayed home with my kids for a few years. And when
so you just never went back?
I never went back. Right. After I left to be home with my kids. And then I just found my way into HR through a very strange and circuitous route through nonprofits and stuff. And I ended up in the printing industry. And honestly, it's like the passion of the newly converted. I freaking love it. I love the creation. I love the creativity, but I also love the technical aspects of the industry. And putting those together, I thought was super fascinating. It's also ubiquitous. And I think people, that old line that print is dead, but print is everywhere. It's literally everywhere. And so it's not dead. It's just reshaped, and there's consolidation with printers, but the product is everywhere. It just looks different than the products that people knew 40 years ago. So it's pretty cool. I love print. I love the creativity of it. And HR works well. As my joke is that as an attorney and as a mom, I have the perfect skill set to become an HR professional.
I was going to say they're very like you have to have a certain personality to be like, oh, I'm going to go from litigation to parenthood to, you know what sounds fun? HR.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I'm a little bit of a badass, and I'm also an empath. And so that's
I can see that.
Also a good combination to have when you manage a company or you work with the HR things. You have to kind of.
Yeah. So why I guess the hard part for me is that I'm definitely one of those people where I got into this industry. I wouldn't say on accident. It was never my plan.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I was in a band, like 95% of screen printers.
Yeah.
And then they were like, oh, we sell merch. Oh, cool. I'll make my own merch and I can make it for other people. And then it turns into a business.
Yeah.
And you make a shop with your buddies for, 10, 12 years. And then all of a sudden you guys are at an age and you're hiring people that aren't your buddies. And you're like, I don't know how to manage people. I don't know how to manage a business other than money comes in, money comes out. Hopefully we have some left.
Right.
Right. But I think that the hardest
to it. There's no strategy.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's like ideas of like, how do we get more business? How do we do this? And I feel like a lot of us can do that. Like we come up with like, oh, how do we get more jobs in? But we don't think like, how do we better take care of our people, or how do we deal with issues when they come along, or how do we, properly hire somebody or properly fire somebody, and all these different things. And, I've struggled with this really hard. And that's why I was like kind of stoked to talk to you, is like, I feel like where I'm at in the business now, and I've been doing this for 16 years in this business, I've been in the industry for 20. And it's like, I feel like it's mostly managing people at this point. It's not what I got into it for. It's not the screen printing part or the hanging out with your friends part. It's it's a thing now where I have to have all of this stuff in place, because it's literally just shuffling people around.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a tipping point, I think, when you're a small business of where, you can kind of cobble it together and make it work. But once you hit a certain amount of either numbers of people or how much people are working, there's a tipping point, and you need to actually manage it. You need to manage HR and manage people, because like every business, you're creating a product, but your biggest expense is the human element of it, right? You have to manage that.
By far, yeah.
Yeah. And and then if you don't have the people being, working at their best levels and things like that, or no showing and things like that, then it's affecting your productivity. It's affecting the product. Everything that comes out there's less of it, and it's not as good. So you really have to, you have to really invest in people a little bit. And that's a hard thing when it's complicated and it's changing. And so you have to kind of keep up with it. But that's my joke, is with Printing United Alliance, I work with 80% of printers are small businesses. So it's definitely true of screen printers. And it's also true of commercial printing largely. And now that's being reshaped. So I should really recheck to see if it's still 80%. But in any event, they don't have a dedicated HR person, and there's only so much that you can know and stay up on as a business owner or company president. So if Alliance members can call me, I joke that I'm their HR wingman. And so I can kind of fill in the gaps for them and help in those moments of, strategize, or if there's a problem with an employee, or, succession planning. I mean, just other stuff too.
Yeah. And I think the hard part is that and this is what's difficult for me right now, is it's like, I'm a person too. You know what I mean? Like, not to turn this into a therapy session, but
Right.
it's like, I'm a person too. I've been through all the same stuff that they've been through, and I'm just trying to come to work and like do my day.
Right.
But as the owner,
Right.
it's hard for us to separate things like that. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh,
people
yeah.
come to
You
the
have to have
shop and they
such
have issues, or they, you know, whatever, or you're hiring somebody and they have certain things that they need to whatever. And the human part comes out of me where I'm trying to help them, or I'm trying to like please them, or I'm trying to something. And
Right.
it's like you're saying, at some point you kind of need to be more cold and calculated, and not just the guy who runs this place. Like,
Right.
it's just difficult because like I have feelings too.
Right.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And like,
Absolutely.
I had to separate myself to a degree a couple of years ago, and Bill and Brian, basically, I was like, I need you guys to handle, talking to people and hiring and firing and all this, because I just had to be like, I don't have that skill set. Like, I have the vision of the company, I have the direction of what I want to do to grow it, but the actual human element thing, like, it's not my strong suit by a long shot.
Right. I think that in your situation, not to diminish the importance of it, but it's something that's echoed by a jillion people in the industry. You know, they didn't enter this world knowing that they were going to spend so much time and honestly psychological capital on managing people. Like, it's
Yeah.
it's exhausting. It can be
Oh,
really
very much so. Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
like, you can get the body to work for, you know, a 12-hour shift, 6 days in a row to, you know, produce a whole load of product. But like, the mental element is like, I just want to not deal with that, you know? And
Well, it's like, I always say here is, it's like, we have no problem printing t-shirts.
yeah.
Like, our whole business is making apparel and shirts. Like, that is zero part of the problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's always something else, or, you know,
It
it's like a human thing. And
Right.
again, that it is what it is, then that's okay. It's just,
Yeah.
I personally have a hard time dealing with that, which is where it's like, okay, like, at what point do you sub out HR to something? But the other part of that too is that it feels even colder to me to be like, hey, I know you want to come talk to me about this problem, but actually, here's the HR person. Here's the outsourced company that I hired to talk to you about this thing. And they just feel like, cool, he doesn't give a shit about me even more.
Right.
Because now it's some random person.
Right. That's one way to do it, is to hire an outside company to handle HR. Another way to do it is, if you're a small business, to just hire a part-time person that comes in, you know, mornings or 3 days a week or 2 days a week, because most HR can be handled in a small company in those sorts of increments, and it'll cost less, right, to the owner, but also you have a captured employee that people will get to know. I mean, look, here's the thing. This is the thing that I think, I've been doing HR for 14 years, and the most important element I have learned by a mile, like by far, is culture. Like, you have to have a culture where people feel that they can feel safe in the workplace, both emotionally, psychologically, and of course physically. Like, they're not going to have their hand cut off. But also that if they have issues,
I shouldn't laugh at that.
Yeah, no, it's true though.
Shit like that happens.
Yeah, and Gary will talk to you about that part of it. I'll talk to you about the other part of it, which is, they have to know that they can come to work, and if somebody's being a jerk to them or somebody's bullying them, they have somewhere they can go and say, look, I have a problem with this. This is like, I like working here, but I can't work with this guy. He's like a jerk and he's being horrible to me, or whatever, you know, whatever the situation is. And so that does take a skill set, like you said, to where you have to create the environment, the culture, where somebody feels like, yeah, okay, I can handle that. I can smooth things over. I can create a space where people get along. They have each other's back. I can create an environment where people feel like, you know, they can come to work and actually enjoy themselves. And then, if you do that, people will stay. You know, they won't leave for $1 an hour more somewhere else, or $2 an hour more somewhere else. They will stay with you if you create, and not you, but the company. They will stay with the company if the company creates an environment that makes them feel safe, and in many different ways, and protected from abuse.
Well, I feel like that's got to be a big mix, though, of like, okay, we need to look at our overall culture and hire a part-time HR person to be the voice and be the person that you can go to. But also, we need to make sure that everybody, because the HR person can be there for the, I guess, let's say the complaints and the someone to talk to about certain issues, your safe space or whatever it is, but also the staff in the shop or the staff in the office or something has to be like on board with, hey guys, like certain things can't happen.
Right. Yeah. There's got to be a set of rules of conduct, and understanding what the conduct is within the workplace. And I think, so two things: having an HR person that works part time in a small shop. If you are in a small shop, the chances are that the owner, operator, president, whatever you title yourselves, is working side by side with the people, interacting constantly with the people in the shop. And if they have a problem with you, you're the person they're supposed to go to complain about it with. That they're never going to come to you with it because you're the person, right? And I'm not saying you, but the owner or the shop owner is the person. So having a neutral person in a HR who can smooth things out like that, that's super helpful. Also, it just kind of takes that burden away from you as an owner to have a person who's trained, a person who doesn't have the same skin in the game as you do, to take it over. So I strongly think that if you have enough money, if your margins have provided you the luxury of hiring a part-time HR person, do it.
Do you think that person has to be an actual HR person from someone who has training or whatever? Or what do you look for in a person if you're, say, like me in a small town?
Yeah.
And you're like, hey, I just want to hire someone to do this. Like, obviously it has to take a certain personality. Like, you don't just hire some random person off the street and be like, hey, you're going to deal with everybody's feelings.
Right.
And whatever.
So using myself as an example, I had no HR training when I started doing HR. So I just started it, and now I'm a consultant and I do it, and I tell people how to manage their issues, right? So the irony is I had no training, professional training in it. I took it over because the guy who was doing it had a breakdown, and they're like, Adriane, can you do it? It was a small place, a nonprofit, and they're like, can you handle this? And I'm like, okay, I'll do it.
I feel like that fully sums up the job of like, oh, I had to come in because the other person imploded.
Yeah, he was spinning a lot of plates, and the plates all fell down. And so, so the answer is no, they don't have to have formal HR training. But if you hire somebody with the proper personality, and again, let me stress, you have to kind of be a badass because you can't be afraid to have the hard conversations. You're going to fire.
I think that's the biggest thing, is someone who is willing to have someone who's not afraid of confrontation. Like, I am the opposite. I will avoid confrontation to no end. Yeah. I will drive 4 hours to not have a difficult conversation of like, I'm not going to not do this today. You know what I mean? Like, I
100% get it. And like, here's the thing. I was a litigator. So all I did every day for, 15 years was have hard conversations.
It's difficult conversations.
And fight with people. So I'm not afraid of hard conversations, but also I'm a high empath. And so I find that that's a really good quality to have. So that's my joke. You have to be a badass, but you have to be an empath, because you have to understand that when you're going to fire somebody, or you're giving somebody some sort of, for lack of a better phrase, disciplinary guidance, they are feeling perhaps angry, feeling like they're being picked on or bullied, feeling like this is unfair, or maybe they feel guilty because they know it's all true, and they just are in a super vulnerable position because they know they got stuff going on. They're doing a bad job of it. They're lashing out. Maybe there's problems at home and they're lashing out at work. Who knows? Mm-hmm. So it's a super, super charged, highly charged, emotionally charged thing to do. And so you have to treat people respectfully. I mean, I fired people and had them cry and hug me and thank me for helping them. So you have to find, it's a weird thing, right? But you have to find that balance. And when you tell people, well, you're not getting this promotion, here's why. I need you to be more skilled at this. I think in time you can get there. This is the pathway for how you can improve your skills and move up, right? And so
Yeah.
you're providing solutions at the same time that you're having that hard conversation. If you're firing somebody because they've been horrible to other people, or they just no called, no showed, that there's two different scenarios, right? The no call, no show means they know they're getting fired. I mean, it's just a matter of time. It's a game, right?
Yeah.
They're going to play it until you fire them. And, it's like,
Well, let's be honest. Like, are you having fun with those ones? Like, can you be like, cool, I don't have to sit here and like be empathetic with this person. I can just be like, hey, fuckface,
yeah, well,
you're fired.
Right. You can say, look, you called, no showed too many times, and I can't, that can't work for us. I'm sorry, dude, you got to go.
Right.
So yeah, those are pretty short and easy and understandable, and they know they're getting fired. So it doesn't have that same emotional push. But if you have somebody there that is pretty committed to your workplace, but has either messed something up horribly or treated somebody so badly that it doesn't call for a progressive discipline situation, where or maybe they've done the progressive discipline and they're still just screwing it up, then those are the harder ones, right? And those are the ones that are teaching moments, right? You got to say, look, this is where we are. We've tried these things. They're not working. It's really hard on everybody, you, but also everybody around you. And so here's what we have to do. We have to let you go. We think you're a great worker, but you have, unfortunately, a couple of things that have gone really wrong in the workplace, and we can't do that. So, my suggestion to you is to find a fit and to work on these things so that you won't have this problem in the future, because it's gonna trail you.
See, my problem with that is that I could say that stuff. Like, I could be like, hey, this is what's going on. But it's the but afterwards. It's like they instantly give you a bunch of excuses, or like, oh, this is why, or, oh no, I have this problem, or I have, my car broke down, or I have kids, or this thing or that thing. And it's like, I instantly am like, you're right. Yeah, you do have kids, and you do deserve to be late, and you do have this thing. And it's like,
but
and then I screw myself.
Those are the situations where they have had warnings. So if you have a policy, and if you don't have a policy, you need shop owners need to have a policy that says, this is how discipline works here. We will give you, a lot of people use it like a 3 strikes type situation. You get 2 without getting fired, and then the third one, you're just automatically out. You're automatically out. And
well, that's something that I found, and I mean, you can correct me throughout this whole thing because I'm learning as I go. It's just like, I'm trying to put enough things into place where it's like they almost are firing themselves, because it's like, the rules, you signed this, like clearly that this is not allowed, or this thing can't happen, or whatever. And it's like, we have some metrics to be like, dude, like, I've asked you this many times about this thing, and like, here's like the literal data of like, you are letting yourself go. Like, what do you want me to do? Because when it's all he said, she said stuff, it's so much harder to let them go, because it's like, well, this and that and the other thing. And I have no proof.
Right.
You know what I mean? I have no time clock. I have no this or that. And it's like, as soon as you have those things and you can show them, then it's like, oh yeah, I was late, 25 out of the 31 days last month. And it's like, dude, well, what do you want me to do about it? Like, it's not me doing this to you. Like, you were actually late this many days.
Right. So, no, you're right. Data help. Like, that's why documentation matters. I feel like in a small business, again, depending on how much money there is, signing up for an HR software type situation that will track all of that stuff. So you just open up the software if there's a disciplinary problem, and you type in everything. Then you remind the person who no called, no showed. Okay, you no called, no showed, and that's your third one. We're done. Or that's your first one, but that after 3 you're done. And so again, they're, like you said, they're firing themselves. They know that they're losing their job. And documenting stuff really helps, because in a situation where somebody might lash out and say they're being discriminated against, well, I didn't do it, or they had just as many as me. you have documentation to show that they in fact have whatever,
Yeah.
And the other thing too is along those same lines is that you need to, whatever policy you set, you need to follow with everybody. So that gets you out of that situation that you talked about where
That's a hard one too.
Yeah. They say, well, but I have this or this person's sick or whatever.
But what's hard with that one is like you have people who have worked for you for a year that aren't following those rules, the way you're like, all right, well, these are our rules and you're breaking them. But then you have people that work for you for like 15 to 20 years and they're doing it too. And you're like, yeah, but they've worked here for 15 years and like, that's just who they are and whatever. And you're like, but that's the difficult part is it's hard for me to be like, well,
yeah,
so-and-so's doing it, but you're not allowed to do it either.
Right. And that's the thing. You have to be consistent. So you have to go to the people that's been there 15 years and say, look, I know that I've let this slide and this is kind of how it's been, but I'm going to need you to do X or stop doing Y. And then that way it's, again, this is all part of building a culture. And so it's not easy and it's not like flipping a switch. It doesn't happen overnight. But
I just want to hide in a closet and print shirts. I just want to print shirts. All I want to do is print shirts. Why does it gotta be?
Running a business is so much more than than you think it is, right?
For sure.
Don't know what
Yeah.
you're getting into.
Well, anyway, I got a lot that I want to go over with you, and we kind of just got into chatting. But can you give me like an overall for people who don't super know, but like, what does HR include? Like, if you were to have an HR person, what is their actual role, and what is not something that us as owners can just dump on them because it's just an overall umbrella of HR?
Right. Well, most things that deal with the people element of your business fall in the HR umbrella. So hiring people, firing people, disciplining people, paying people their wages, providing them whatever benefits that your shop provides, being there to resolve disputes between employees and managers, things like that. Also, HR people tend to be the career development people. So sometimes that would fall under like managers and supervisors to teach and train as they go. But if they're not doing that, the HR person can create a structure where a training program is set in place, and maybe they're not doing the actual training themselves, but they are at least creating the structure so that people know, okay, this person needs to be trained on this person needs to go to that training. Also, in the case of regulatory compliance, checking I-9s, making sure that, workers' comp stuff is taken care of, all of that stuff falls under HR.
Sounds like something I don't want to do.
Yeah.
Oh God.
I'm scaring you now, Dylan, and I'm sorry about that.
It's not scary at all. It's just, it's one of those things where I don't want to sound negative when I say this, but it's just not what I got in this for. And I get that it's necessary. And that's what I'm coming to terms with is it's just this stuff is super necessary, which is why I really want to talk to you, because I really want to figure out a better way to do it. And I'm honest and vulnerable on here of just kind of like, I'm learning too. I'm learning just as much as anybody else. I don't do this podcast to be like, oh, I'm fucking the all knowing smart, whatever.
No,
I'm learning right now.
Absolutely.
And again, I have pretty much everything at my shop, pretty well maintained right now. The people in place that are doing what they're doing a fantastic job, and staff is all, we're making things work, and it's whatever. I'm just saying next step seems to be this whole, like you said, maybe hire someone part-time and have an actual department or whatever it is.
Right.
But anyway, I got a list of stuff. I kind of sent you some stuff. Normally I don't do this, but there was a lot of questions and things that I was like, I kind of want to get into with you.
Yeah.
And I want people who are listening to be able to kind of take some stuff and hopefully sign up for Printing United and be able to use you as a resource. But
if people do come to the Printing United, which is our expo, and it's in Orlando this year in October, I will be in the Printing United Alliance booth the whole time. And you don't have to be a member to come talk to me, and I can, help you with a quick problem, or I can also strategize with you. I'm just standing in the booth there, available to help people, and show people,
Yeah.
the way.
You're just looking for high fives all day. That's what you're looking for.
That'd be all right too.
If you are a member, what does your position help them with?
All the HR things that we talk about and that we're going to talk about in this podcast. So I have a lot of policies. I can help people. People call me up and say, Adriane, my employee threatened to kill me today. What do I do? And I'll walk them through. I'll just tell them step by step what to do. Or I have this employee that's really not working out. How can I turn it around for them or let them go? And I will walk them through step by step, and I'll be available throughout the process. I've had people call me 5 seconds before they walk into the meeting just to refresh themselves about how to handle stuff. So I joke that I'm the wingman, and I really do act in that capacity. I'm just there to help. There's a lot of OSHA type overlap. There's safety overlap with HR. I have the good fortune of working with my colleague Gary Jones on that. But sometimes you get a twofer with us where we'll both help on something. Like maybe an employee has gotten sick or injured from using some machine that has some safety issue or environmental, like off-gassing stuff. And so he'll handle one side of the problem with you. I'll handle the other side of the problem with you, and we'll get you through it. I mean, that's the whole point. Is small businesses do not have a dedicated safety person. Small businesses do not have a dedicated HR person. And so we're here to kind of fill in the gap a little bit and educate business owners about what to do.
Okay, nice. All right, let's get into it though. Hiring and retention is one of the first topics I want to do. What are some of the most common hiring mistakes print shop owners make?
So I think, especially in this environment, it's great if you can find somebody that has the skills that you're looking for already, but chances are you're not going to find a lot of people that have those skills. So you want to hire a person who is open to be trained, who is not stuck in their ways, who is really open about the idea of, I don't know everything, so hire the person, teach the skills. I'm a very big proponent of that. I think another thing that's really important is if you're a business in whatever community you're in, but particularly if you're in kind of a small community or a subset, a neighborhood of a bigger city, you want to become a community active company, right? You want to sponsor a little league team. You want to, do tabling at the 4th of July stuff. You want to give out stickers and things like that. Let people know you exist. Let people know you're there. And then the other thing is if you are a good workplace, if you do treat your people well, pay them fairly, and provide an environment that people like to come to, they're going to talk about that, right? They're going to talk about it within that same community. They're going to say, oh my God, I love my boss. He's great. Or I have a cool job. I make this merch, we do shirts for X and Y, and it's pretty cool. And then you need to create a culture where people are going to speak well of your work environment in that same small community.
Well, let me just give you a super hypothetical. This is definitely not how I do it.
Okay.
But picture that you put out that you're hiring on Indeed or you put out on Facebook. Facebook used to have a really good job, a hiring thing. And I don't know why they got rid of it because it ruled for a while.
They probably are launching some other software and they don't.
Oh, yeah, probably. Yeah. But anyway, you put on there that you're hiring and you might get, say you get 30 to 40 applications or something. And the very first thing you do as an owner is you Facebook stalk all of them and you want to see who's the meth head or who's the super political person or who's the super, they're going to just complain about you basically just start stalking them online to see who's the crazy.
Right.
Because everyone will be nice to your face and be like, I'm a hard worker, I'm whatever. And then you go to their Facebook page and it's just nothing but super in your face, political posts. Yeah. And it's I am going to lose my mind if you're here. And then you weed it down to, okay, there's 4 people who might be decent. And then you have them in and then you take the one that's the less craziest and then you're like, okay, cool, let's do a week trial period, and if everyone can get along with you, you're hired. Would you say that's a decent way to hire people, or is it better to have a more rigorous search somehow?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's not a terrible way to hire people. So look at it this way. I've done the same thing. When I know now I do consulting, so I don't actually do hiring. But when I did exactly what you did. I go on all their social media checks, and I immediately exclude people who seem toxic in social media. So, and also if you are displaying a lot of weapons, like, I can't tell you how many times I click on candidates and they have
so many
times after gun. And
it's always this like stupid, like negative photo of them like holding an AK or something. And it's like, dude, what are you doing? Why would I want to hire you? I don't understand.
Right. And so there's two parts to that. One, I'm not anti-gun.
Me either. I like guns. I shoot guns. But to be on Facebook and be like, I got a gun, like, it's like, dude, that's not what guns are for, first of all.
Right.
And second of all, like, you're a douche. Like, why are you doing this?
Yeah. Well, right. If that's their identity, it becomes a problem. But also, God forbid, later on, there's a workplace violence incident with that person, perhaps involving a gun, then you as an owner perhaps could be sued and found liable because you should have known that they were a, gun-loving, potentially violent.
I mean, I don't understand how I didn't know that they were shirtless sitting on a four-wheeler with like a stack of guns. You know,
right.
I should have seen this coming.
So your system is not a bad one in many ways. But let me suggest that in addition to that, maybe start reaching out to local high schools and offering tours and bringing, 17-year-olds through your shop so you can see stuff. They're going to think it's cool because it is cool. And give them a t-shirt or a merch or of something, give them a hat or whatever kids think are cool now. And
it's funny. I'm not doing this in like a selfish way at all, but it is a bonus. Is like, I'm in talks. I've been in talks for a while. I don't know why it takes so long to do something like this, but I want to do a screen printing department at my local like tech school. Like basically for us, it's called BOCES. It's like you basically in 10th grade, you get to go for like the last 2 years to like learn to weld or be an electrician or whatever it is.
Right.
Well, there's a graphic design department. And I was like, hey guys, like I would literally try to donate or find sponsors or people to donate, like literally an entire manual screen printing department. Right. Like add it on. I would love to come down and show you guys how to use it. And like, let's grow this thing. But what I thought would be cool, like I said, it's not super selfish, but like is the kids who are really interested in it in that department, I could almost cherry pick and be like, hey, like you want a job with me when you get out of school? Like I would love this.
Yeah.
So like part of it is I could kind of like groom some new talent to be like, hey, if you want to do this as a career or you really want to learn the print industry, I'd be happy to have you. So that it's like in that vein of you're saying is like, I'm almost have my hiring pool.
It's a pipeline
every year to choose from. Yeah.
And what you're proposing, here's the problem with the proposal. The print used to be in vote what we used to call VOTech, but now our skills training. It used to be there, but the equipment has gotten really expensive. Upkeep is expensive. The inks and the toners and all that stuff is expensive, and there's safety issues. And we all know that 17-year-olds, often boys, are just not really good about being mindful of the safety concerns. So
I don't understand.
Yeah. So the schools don't want to take on that liability, and those teachers don't want to take on having to learn an entire thing about screen printing, and then the liability of kids working with those machines. Like, that I think might end up causing such a proposal not to be successful. Would be
to a degree though, is it's like, it doesn't have to be the ultimate. I've talked to school shops on here before where it's like they have multiple autos, they have all this stuff. It's like, dude, most of the people I talk to who got into screen printing were like, oh, I learned in high school on a wooden manual press, and this like that. Right. That got their spark. Right. That's all I'm looking for. Okay. I'm not looking to be like, I'm going to put an automatic in this place.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, I want to get like a 6.6 manual. I want to get screens that they can actually coat.
Yeah.
I want to get an exposure unit. I want to get plastisol, maybe a little bit of water base. I don't want it to be super complicated. I just want these design kids to be able to take what's in their head or what they designed and actually make it into a physical product.
Yeah. Well,
and I think that would spark them to be like, oh yeah, I really want to do this.
Yeah. To that point, I actually had a home screen printing kit, and I just wasn't ever using it. So I donated it to a local library so that they could do screen printing classes with a manual,
Right.
and create their screens and do it at the library. So that's another option, just putting it out there. But also just give them a tour of your shop. I mean, let them see the environment, and let them talk to, or at least observe people doing the work. And that often they're going to think it's cool. It is cool. And that might help too. But those are the really good sort of long-term pipeline type things. And also just not just high schools, but there's veterans who are looking for work, and veterans are really good about training and learning. Because that's what they had to do in their various, roles in the military, is to learn all this stuff. So they're really good about accepting that, okay, I have to be trained and I'm going to learn it. And they're, tend to be good rule followers as well. So the veterans are good. Disabled community they're always looking for work. They're always looking to put people into roles in small businesses in the community. So those are also other places perhaps to develop a pipeline.
Yeah. What are some best practices for writing job descriptions for that kind of thing?
So, realistically, if you belong to the Alliance, we have some, and I can help write job descriptions.
You have templates basically?
Oh, yeah, I have job descriptions, and then you use them and manipulate them to reflect the actuality of the position you're posting for. But so job descriptions are important to post to attract people, but they're also really important internally, because legally there's stuff attached to the job description that can protect you later. So that's a little bit hard to do. But here's where, if you don't know what to do, if you're an Alliance member, come to me. But if you're not an Alliance member, try AI, because AI has got, it learns from scanning every single thing that's out there publicly available. Well, all of the screen printing postings ever made in history have probably been scanned by some AI. And so when you ask AI to write a job description for whatever, it will give you a job description really quickly. Now, that's not a finished product, but it's a starting off point that then you can manipulate a little bit.
But what are some things that you think should definitely be in there? Because even I've had difficulty in knowing, one of my biggest things, and I think for most owners, is when you post something say on Facebook, you're looking for a job or whatever, is putting the income on there.
Right.
Or the benefits or the whatever, or even the hours sometimes. In our industry, often it's, hey, for 9-10 months of the year, it's 9 to 5. But there might be 2 months of the year where it's hey, we're only going to work 3 days this week because it's slow. It's our slow season. I can't guarantee you 40 hours this week. How do you write that in a job description of we'll see how it goes?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, no. And so you write it the way you just said it, which is, as things that should first, let's go with your first question, which is what should appear in a job description. I would do a pay range. A starting and an ending, so that this is the range. Because if you have somebody that comes in with no experience at all, they're going to be at the bottom of the range. And then if they come in with lots of experience, they're going to probably skew right towards the top of the range. So having a pay range. I also would be super cautious about what prior experience is needed. So don't ask for things that aren't needed. I like to be very clear about that. Don't ask for X if X is never really going to be useful in the job. So that's important too. But as far as so here's something, again, legally, I think that really helps, is say you must work at, and then put a location. You will be working at X, so that people don't think that this is in any way going to be a remote situation, or I can do my job from afar. Because as a screen printer, you probably need everybody in the shop. If they don't have
Yeah.
to be in the shop, you can put that. You can be in the shop when needed, occasionally or all the time, but occasionally could work from home if it's like a graphic designer that doesn't have to be in the shop every day. So just be super honest and clear about location and pay. And then with the hours, if it's an hourly wage position, say 10 months of the year, we will most likely be working 40 hours a week. However, there are low season times where there'll be fewer hours. Those typically occur once or twice a year. And in those seasons, you should expect to only work 30 hours a week or whatever it is. So just be honest about it. And some people might be grateful. They would think, oh God, thank God. Okay, I have a couple times a year where I'm just not going to be as busy. I'll plan my vacation for that time of year, or I'll do X or Y. Same if it's high season. We have a high season that occurs in, October, and therefore expect that overtime will be expected in October each year,
Yeah. What else is there that I guess is like legally protecting you? And is there anything you should worry about in that kind of thing?
Well,
like, can they come back to you later and be like, well, you said.
Yeah. You want to be super careful about what you promise. So don't promise benefits that you don't give, right? Also, you want to be really careful about discrimination. Society currently has spun a different direction. It used to be that you wanted to put in your job postings and job descriptions, we are an equal opportunity employer. We have, whatever, and that's not illegal. However, if you have a DEI statement in your hiring documentation right now, that is probably not recommended. You probably want to take that out, because we have the United States Department of Justice is focusing on people who have diversity, equity, and inclusion statements in their job postings, which are publicly available, and then will focus a DEI investigation from the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, the EEOC. Those investigations first you'll get a call from an EEOC lawyer, but then a Department of Justice people will come in and look at it, and they will start talking.
So they'll come to inspect and see if you actually have a diverse
Well, they'll
crew?
Look at who your candidates were and why you hired the people you hired. And so if you hired a diverse candidate that was less qualified in their eyes, for whatever reason they consider to be less qualified than a candidate who is non-diverse, they will give you a hard time. Are they going to really focus on small screen printers? No. I would not expect that to happen. But, never say never.
I hate all of that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think it's become, look, HR and what HR entails has become very complicated, and it is shifting with the political winds, and you may hate it, but you got to be aware of it.
Yeah, no, I mean, it makes total sense. And again, I don't want to get like super touchy subjects or anything, but it's like, I just hate that there's so many like weird loopholes and things where people are getting sued over things where it's like, come on. Like, I always look back to this whole, and this doesn't really have anything to do with anything, but it's like the lady who spilt the coffee all over her at McDonald's, where it's like, dude, obviously it's hot coffee. Like, you just bought it. And it's like, oh, I'll sue them for X millions of dollars because there was no label on it that says hot coffee. It's like, you're a moron. You spilt the coffee on yourself.
Well, so to counter that point, right? So this is my old life as a lawyer, right? You have to look into that case. It was far worse than what you just described. The coffee was, unbelievably hot. It wasn't coffee hot, which is 190 degrees. It was like 200.
I love that you know that. You're like, oh, it's specifically.
Yeah, no, it was 250 degrees. And so, and it was overfilled. So she stuck it between her legs to pay the person and pull away from the window, like we all have done, although cup holders are so available now that maybe we don't do that. But in the old days, you'd stick it between your knees and you pull up and then whatever, and it spilled all over her. And it was very significant damage to her body, very, very significant burns. She had to have skin grafts and all this stuff. So they overfilled and overheated this crazy coffee and then handed it to this woman who immediately burned herself. And then it makes the woman look like an absolute fool, crazy person. And McDonald's is like, whoa, it's hot coffee, but, absolving them of all liability. But in fact, they were bad actors in this, right?
All right, I take back my statement a little bit, but I'm just saying there's certain things too where it's like we don't know what we don't know until something like that happens, and then you put something in. And I'm saying as a small business, there's certain things where it's like, dude, I don't know every rule and everything. I don't know every like inclusion thing. I don't know all of these things, and it's just like I'm just waiting to get sued for like the dumbest thing.
Right. Well,
where it's like, dude.
Chances are you're not going to get sued. You're going to get schooled, right? That's more likely than not what's going to happen. And your employees, look, if you have, and this is super true when it comes to safety, if you have done what you're supposed to do, like with machine guarding and, lockout, tag out and stuff like that, and somebody gets hurt, but you have done everything that is appropriate in your workplace, and you have spaces marked off where people aren't going to get hit by the swinging arm of the auto, and you're doing what you should do. Well, then in those cases, if you are sued by OSHA or whatever, if you get cited, it's going to be far, 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 far less than if you had done nothing. So
like you just neglected altogether.
Right. There are levels of liability, levels of negligence. And, if you've tried really hard and you just did it. So there always are regulatory issues that you need to know about. If you are a shop that has fewer than 50 employees, you have fewer things that apply to you as far as federal regulation. State regulations vary, obviously, local regulations vary, but if you have fewer than 50 employees, it tends to be less regulated in other ways, like family.
Good. I'm staying under that radar, baby.
Yeah, there's a lot of businesses I know never hire past 49. Never. So
do they do that specifically to get away from it? Yeah. See, like I say that, but I'm not trying to avoid something. I'm not trying to be sneaky. I'm just saying like these things make my head hurt.
Well, that's the scaling up. When we talked to you, said, when do I scale up? Well, if you pass 50 employees, you really need to have a professional HR person involved in your,
just to protect yourself.
Right. Because there's a lot more things you need to know. And depending on where your business is located, right, that matters too. If you're in a high regulatory place, California, Massachusetts, Illinois, New York, New Jersey, those tend to have more regulations that you need to be aware of, So
cool. I'm in that New York space.
Yeah.
All right. What does a strong onboarding process look like? Is there anything that you should have? Like I kind of mentioned this hypothetical that definitely wasn't me, but where we have someone here and we might pay them under the table for the first week to kind of get the feel of should they be here, should they not be here? Like, is there any other than paying under the table, like legal thing with any of that? Like, is that something you should do? Is that frowned upon? Like, are there any onboarding things that you would recommend or tip?
Right. You can have probationary employees and be able to just let them go in a whatever period of time. A week is a pretty short period of time. My recommendation professionally is to hire them as employees, but as probationary employees, which means it's pretty easy to let them go. And also, no,
I'm saying I still have that like whatever it is, like 90-day probationary period or whatever. Right. I'm saying the week is just to be like, are you a psychopath? Yeah. Like I will tell, like say they start on Monday, I will tell you on Saturday if you're hired. Like I want you to work that first week where I can say, oh, we found out you like sniff your feet all lunch break or something and you're not going to fit in here. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like that's what I want to find out in that week. I want to find out how you mesh with people, how you talk with people, because being a small business, say you have 15 employees or whatever, that one employee is going to make a huge impact on everybody. Right. So if this person comes in and they're a fucking weirdo, like you can't have it. And I would like to tell them on Saturday, like, hey, thanks for coming in. Right. You were great, but we just want to move in a different direction or something.
Right.
I don't want to hire them fully, get them on payroll, get them this, get them that, and then find out 3 days in that they're super weird.
Right. So, what the way that in this hypothetical, this person is being paid under the table.
Yeah, this isn't me. This totally isn't me.
Yeah, it isn't you. I don't recommend that. But you can, if you don't want to hire them as probationary employees at the jump, and you want that 1 week of trial period, then what I would do is do a real quick agreement. Employment agreement says, I'm going to ask you to work here for 1 week. I'm going to pay you this much money. You are an independent contractor and not an employee. And this is to visit the idea of whether this is a industry and role that would be suitable for you down the road. And then I like that. Yeah. So do that. And then you have
so I should actually have like an actual form for that, or I should have an agreement for them.
And then they're going to have to get a 1099 at the end of the year as somebody who
we'll wink and air quotes.
Yeah. I see nothing. I'm like Sergeant Schultz in this. I see nothing.
Yeah.
But yeah. So yeah. And then that way you won't, let's just say in this hypothetical, you had somebody come in, you're paying them under the table, you don't have the agreement in place, nothing is traceable. There's no paper trail. And they break their arm, in a workshop accident. There are going to be issues, and that's going to cost far, far more than the challenge of issuing the 1099 and having them sign the paper.
That is true. Yeah.
So
see, again, this is where you come into play. See, I'm learning now of like, hey, what if they break their arm? I don't have to just like drop everything and leave the country and never come back.
I do something called awfulizing, which TM awfulize. That's mine. But I'll lend it to you. So I awfulize. Okay. I look at what a worst case scenario is, and I try to protect everyone from it. And so while still working within the boundaries of, okay, you don't want to hire them as a probationary employee at the jump. That comes later, but you want to test them and see if they sniff their feet. Okay. So just do that quick letter, have them sign it, 1099. It's a little bit like, house sitting or watching your dog or whatever. Most people don't do it, but the danger factor here is a little bit more. And then if you do end up hiring them, and then later it's found out that they sustained some sort of injury or something happened in the workplace, they were harassed or whatever it was, back when they had that under the table sitch, then that can bite you in the ass down the road. Excuse my French.
Right. Hey, I like French. I wish you had more French in this.
I am such a salty. Look, you're getting the cleaned up version of Adriane.
I am trying really hard to be so civil right now.
I have some such salty language, but I try.
Good. Hey, I know there's an organization you work for.
Yeah.
But
I try.
I'm all for it. Okay. All right. Workplace culture. I have a couple in here. How can owners encourage accountability without micromanaging?
Right. So there's a couple of different ways to approach it. And this is a big subject that I'm going to condense. So I'm going to leave stuff out. But if you, the biggest, we'll work from the biggest down to the smallest. If you are a business owner and you are in the grind and you are exhausted and you are not getting the productivity and you have a churn of employees in and out, I am a huge fan of shared ownership, or at least some type of beneficial ownership of the company to employees. That will get them to be much more accountable. That will get them to stay, and that will get them to,
more of like a buy-in.
Yeah, function in the workplace. They have skin in the game, right?
Yeah.
And so that's one way to build the culture of accountability, is that they have skin in the game. So that's the highest level. Then you can work your way down, but you can do bonuses. You have to be careful. There's, again, some regulatory issues, legal issues surrounding rewarding people. I'm a big fan of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Have you ever seen it?
Yeah.
And so I love that show. It is hilarious to me. And they had this thing where Dee goes to work at a fish place, and like all of these horrible safety things happen. It's crazy. And I laugh because it also works into an old skit from Key and Peele where they have bonuses for no injury, So here's the thing. People sometimes, because they want the bonus, won't report the injury so that they get the bonuses, right? So you can't set it up that way. But there are ways to reward and give accountability, which is customer satisfaction, on-time delivery, all this other thing. So don't link it to safety, but link it to other productivity or quality issues. And then people will tend to strive for that because there'll be some sort of incentive for them. But also the accountability thing is creating a culture where you don't want to let your people down. So you have to have people like each other and where they don't want to let each other down because it's it's like a family. Kind of try to create a situation where I really like, John Doe, and John Doe is going to think I'm an idiot if I screw this up. So I'm going to really try hard. And so the way to do that is to create moments of connection between the team so that they don't just come to work, and leave. So you want to build maybe some cordial sort of civility type things that happen within the workplace that make bonds. If you have a break room, stick a foosball table in there. They will get to know each other and they'll play games. Or have a poker tournament after work. Or everybody goes and works at Habitat and helps build a house one weekend. Or you all run in a 5K. Or, whatever.
I love how you went from foosball to build a house on a weekend.
Yeah. Well, through Habitat, right. Yeah, it's
two
quite
totally different things. Yeah, different shop vibes for sure.
Yeah, but whatever your people are into, right? I mean, I've told people if you have enough space on your land, do a community garden. If you have people that are interested in that, like see where their interests lie, and then try to create environments where they can spend time together. Because a way to make people accountable is to make them feel bad if they let down the team. And the way they feel bad if they let down the team is because they like each other and they want.
It's just really strong bullying and harsh language.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, the hard part I have with some of that is, again, this might just be me and my,
it's never just you. It's always, I'm sure.
I'm just saying that, like, I created this place and I have all these things, these extras, like grilling and taking people to the movies or all these other things. And then it's like, all right, well, at a certain point, I like to say this about myself, but I don't know how true or whatever it is, but like, I really don't micromanage people. Like I am the guy who hires somebody and I'm like, hey, I fully trust people first. I don't know how to say that, but it's just like, I expect when they come here that they're going to have similar values as me and similar common sense as me, and I put them in a position, train them, whatever. And then I'm just like, okay, it's yours. Like hands off, like you do your job. As long as you come in every day and do your thing, I will never hover over you. I will never be like, hey, this needs to be faster, this thing or the other thing. Like I will let you do your thing. I will come in my own office. I have my own shit to do. I do not need to be out there telling you how to do your stuff.
Right.
But that being said, I'm also very guilty of just letting things slide way too much. Of like, oh, you do have the foosball table and it's 10 in the morning and they should be doing something else, but they're playing foosball.
Yeah.
Or this thing's happening or that thing's happening. And I'm just like, all right, well, as long as they're getting their job done, And then at what point does it become it's taking advantage or it's an issue here or it's an issue there or whatever? And then I should have been a little micromanaging and been like, hey, maybe it's time to get back to work, or hey, you're on your phone a little too often, or hey, maybe you should do the job this way. I feel like maybe there is like this middle ground of like checking in often enough to be like, this is the expectation. Right. And this is what's actually happening.
Right. Well, I'm going to challenge your use of the word micromanage, because what it sounds like to me is what you consider micromanaging, I consider managing. So that level of management where you're like, look, you guys, you can't be in the break room this much. You got to go out there and do that stuff. And then this is for, the lunch or after work, or maybe for 15 minutes in the middle of a day when it's a really hard shift and you need a break. That's just managing. That's not micromanaging. Micromanaging is where you're standing over them and you're saying, you did this wrong, you did that wrong, you did this, you need to do it this way, you need to do it that way. If you're not telling them step by step what they're doing and hovering over them, giving them direction a lot of the day, then you're not micromanaging. You're just.
I fully understand what you're saying. I'm just saying that I feel like I get into a slippery slope of like, even now, like, you know, my role is in the office or, you know, doing this other stuff. It's not necessarily in the shop. And I find myself sometimes like I'll go out to the press and be like, oh, why is the pressure here? Or you should change this, or you should do this or whatever. And then I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, this isn't my space. Like, this isn't my thing.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, all right, I'll just go back to my office. Like, I'm sorry I said anything at all. And it's like,
well, I don't know. I mean, I think that's like situational. Like if they're not doing it the way that you would want it done, but the product is turning out the same, it's not affecting the quality of your product or the output, then yeah, maybe walk away. Maybe they've found another way to do it. Otherwise, yeah, it's just part of the gig. That's the kind of stuff you have to do. The people part of it is hard. It's just hard. And it's making me appreciate that HR department more and more, and the management, you know what I mean? And again, it goes back to what I said before of like, I know that that's not me, and I kind of put people in place to do that for me, and they do a great job. So again, it's just, I guess, what you want it to be. Right. I think that's right. And I think that it's really uncommon for a screen printer to have an HR person. Right. The person that runs the company is again spinning all of the plates. And it's a lot. And that's what associations are for. You know, whether it's our association or somebody else. They're there to support businesses. I think it's unique among associations to have an HR consultant. I'm not sure that there's another one. I have not heard about another one. So for me, I don't know that many screen printers. They don't reach out to me. I work much more with other types of printing companies. Some screen printers have, but mostly no. And so maybe it's just an awareness issue, but also I think that people, you described the journey of how in your mind, most screen printers got there. And it doesn't occur to people to have that sort of HR infrastructure to back them up and kind of
not at all.
Yeah. And so I think people, this maybe after this show, maybe it will bring awareness to the fact that it's okay when you're first getting started and you don't know what you don't know. But after a while, you do realize that there is some reason to have an HR infrastructure for, you know, not a reason, lots of reasons.
Oh,
and that's,
for sure.
And that's going to help protect them from liability, but it's also going to just take a big weight off of them, right? It's a really big weight to know that, oh my God, somebody else is helping me with this hiring, firing, training, regulatory compliance stuff. Like this is hard stuff.
Yeah, it definitely is. How do you handle employees who are technically good but toxic?
So I've had that situation when I've been doing internal HR, and there's a couple of different ways. You have to kind of play it by ear based on who the employee is and what their role is in the company. You know, if they're a lower level person versus a manager, that sort of thing. You know, my approach to that typically is if they have a skill set I don't want to lose, and they're a good employee that's committed to the company, but they're just toxic, coaching tends to help. So you can yourself be a coach and say, hey, look, you're great. You do such great work. I'm so impressed with everything that you have brought to this company, and we really value you. There's a couple of things I need you to work on, though.
But you're a dick.
Yeah, but so there's a couple of things I need you to work on, and I'm willing to help you with that. And maybe you're not helping them personally, but maybe the company can pay for them to have some coaching from a career coach and bring them around from the toxicity. I've done it directly myself. I've actually never sent anybody to coaching, but
what does that look like? Because I'm interested in that for, you know, just if I have that issue.
Yeah.
Can you, because I feel like what I've felt before is I do have this person that's, you know, really good at their job, but they have that toxic thing. The very first thing I think is there's nothing I can do about it. I just have to let them go. And it sucks because it's like, this person's really good. They know in all the ins and outs. They're great. And I'm in a small town, and it's like, how do I get back to that area? What I would love to do is just fix the problem.
Yeah, well,
but a lot of times the problem is just like them personally.
It's usually a communication issue. 90% of toxicity is a communication issue. I've coached a few people. I've coached people who have been violent, like physically violent, and thrown things at other people. And I've coached people that are just mean. And so the turnover has been really high because of their meanness. So I've kind of run the gamut of toxicity, and coaching works. It really genuinely works, and it can work very quickly, and it can be done remotely. So you're in a small town. There might not be a good coach there, but you can find a coach. And coaching is a little bit like therapy and a little bit like, coaching. Like if you're on a team and you're not performing, that coach is going to try and teach you the skills to have you perform. And that's exactly professionally what you're wanting to happen in these situations. And if that employee is committed to working for your company, then they will agree to coaching versus losing their job, because and that's how you present it. Look, you're great. You're so really wonderful. We do not want to lose you. We really value you. I value you enough to invest this time and money into bringing you around on these couple of things you need to work on. And I really hope that you'll see it that way. And it's professional development. It's going to make you a better manager, whatever it is their role is. It's going to make you better at that. And, I hope you're going to say yes to it. And we're going to, sign up for 2 months of coaching or 3 months of coaching or whatever it is, 10 sessions, and see how it goes.
What is this actually called? Like, what would you look up if you were interested in doing something like this?
Career coaching, professional
Just career coaching?
Professional coaching.
Okay.
There are a lot of professional coaches out there. I do it myself through the association. I can do coaching, but also you can just, call somebody. You can do it remotely, do it in person. Some people do coaching. I knew somebody who does coaching that takes everybody on walks. They walk and coach, and they go hiking together because it clears their mind and it takes away some of that. There's an element of coaching where you are acknowledging that you are failing at something, or maybe not failing, maybe not the right word, that you need improvement, that you're not hitting it where you should.
They need to come to terms with that they are part of the problem.
Right. And for some people, if you talk about that while you're out taking a walk in nature or going hiking or something, it takes the sting out of it a little bit, and it opens up your mind.
Yeah, because they know if they keep pissing the coach off, they're just going to leave him in the woods.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, I feel like those kinds of people, everybody else is the problem. Like that's it from my experiences. It's like everybody else is the issue. They're never to blame with anything. And it's kind of like,
right.
I need a third party to come in and be like, hey, like, let's actually look at this. And like,
right.
is it everybody else, or is it actually some stuff that you're doing as well?
Right. Personal accountability is really important. That's where you have to have a lot of empathy and kind of a soft touch when you talk to somebody. When you first broach the issue about toxicity, you have to say, hey, look, the turnover in your section is high. I think it's because, I've talked to people, we've done exit interviews, and I know it's because your approach is a little bit rough and people aren't open to it. So we need to change your approach because we can't continue with this churn of employees. And so I'm very interested in keeping you. I very much want you to be a part of this. You do great work, but this is an area that needs improvement, and I need you to work on it.
Yeah, for sure. What are the first steps shop owners should take when there's a conflict between two employees?
Well, look, if you have two people, if you have two or more people working together, at some point there's going to be a conflict between employees. There's I think, a scale of how bad is the conflict? Is it just them kind of not getting along and whatever? And in those cases, I would say stay out of it. If it's just a matter of they won't talk to me in the lunchroom or whatever. But if it advances to where there are factions being formed in the workplace, or there's harassment adjacent behavior or harassing behavior that's getting bantered around, then I think that you have to step in and say, okay, I'm going to talk to each of you separately. I'm going to hear your stories. Then you have to decide where people fall, like what can be done to resolve the conflict, and then I call it shuttle diplomacy, where you go between the two and say, okay, so-and-so would like this from you, an apology for saying X. And then you explain, you shouldn't have, saying X was probably the wrong thing to say because it, did X, Y, and Z. You made a presumption about this, or you hurt their feelings because of that. And then
is there something you should do from a business standpoint of like almost like a write-up or something, like an incident report, or
it can certainly, if it gets
document it?
Yeah, if it gets, well, I think everything should be documented. Everything should be documented. Whether it becomes a disciplinary type thing, putting that aside, everything should be documented. Then if they refuse to work together to resolve the conflict, then there might be discipline that comes into it. But it's really hard to discipline people for just not getting along. It's really hard to discipline people for a slight or whatever it is, that, a bad joke that was made, a one-off thing, that sort of thing, I don't think rises to the level of having a disciplinary infraction in their employee file, their personnel record. But I do think that it could rise to that, because if factions are formed, then there's almost always bullying, and your whole culture is going to go right down the toilet fast if you get to that point. So you don't need to step in.
Say as an owner or HR or whatever, you see it as like, oh, these people are just fucking don't get along, or they're just like being idiots to each other or whatever. Is there a point when legally you're at fault, or you're letting it go on too long to where maybe you're allowing bullying to happen, where this could come and backfire towards you because you didn't take care of it in a way you should have?
Right. So bullying is for me the number one thing that happens in the workplace that leads to workplace violence. So I'm, strongly step in before bullying happens. But I think it really, okay. So if two people don't get along and they're just kind of not talking, they don't sit at the same table in the break room, that sort of thing, it's just going to happen. Not everybody's going to get along, and it's unfortunate, but it's not a big deal. But if people are saying things to each other that are in any way considered harassment. So if you have a person in a protected class, so a person who racially, ethnically, or female are getting things said to them that are related to those characteristics, that is very dangerous. That can result in liability. You don't want that to proceed. But if somebody disagrees with somebody, says, "Oh, you're..."
Now, is the company liable? Am I the owner liable, or is it the person doing the harassing?
All of the above.
Because that really sucks. Like that sucks to be a small business and have someone doing harassment that you don't know about, and then you find out about it when it's too late. And what happens if two people I'm just hypothetical, in the shop are saying stuff to each other, and you don't really know what's going on, and then eventually you find out that so and so called so and so this horrible thing, and it's like really bad. Am I liable for that because I had no idea it was even happening?
Yes. Yeah, you can be. I think that if there's conflict between employees that isn't resulting in any kind of actions, that it's just ignoring each other or not spending time around each other, leave it alone. It's not, it'd be nice to resolve it, but at the same time, there's nothing bad happening there. But the minute that it escalates to where people are saying bad stuff about each other directly to them or to others about them, almost always that stuff will fall into a harassment category. Almost always.
Right. So you're saying that in the documenting phase of things, as soon as I catch wind of it, I should document it and start trying to take care of it, and not just be like, oh, those two, and then just whatever.
Correct. Yes. Especially in a small shop, because you can't hide from it, and it makes everybody on the team really uncomfortable. It's going to crush your morale. It's going to make people not want to work there because of the toxicity involved in this dispute. So the people involved need to grow up, put on their big boy pants and stop fighting, or big girl pants and stop fighting.
I love saying that to people. It just doesn't tend to hold.
Yeah, no, right.
Put your big boy pants on, big girl pants on, or whatever, and let's get through this.
You just kind of need to move on, and what will it take for you to move on, and see if you can facilitate that. And if you can't facilitate it and they're not stopping the behavior, well, then they probably need to be fired. But there's a again, it's a continuum, right? If there's two people just kind of don't like each other and they just ignore each other, leave it alone. But as things escalate, then it becomes something that becomes documented, and then disciplinary, and then ultimately termination if you can't separate, get them to work it out.
Well, in that same vein of, I guess, keeping tabs or figuring out how your employees are doing, how often should shop owners do employee reviews, and what should those look like?
I'm not a huge fan of employee reviews, either as an HR person or as an employee, frankly. I think that a system of regular, constant feedback and quarterly check-ins is a much better system. So those can be documented. They can be 10 minutes every quarter just to say, hey, this is where we are. You're doing great, whatever. But really, immediate feedback loops are the better way to go. Because if somebody has an issue and you bring it up a year later at an annual review, it's too distant from when the actual event happened, or people may not remember, people may not care anymore. But if something happens and you talk to them right away, hey, look, you were a no-call, no-show 3 times this month. That is really unacceptable. I need you to do better, whatever. That's the immediate feedback that needs to be provided, right?
So what is your recommendation? Just maybe like once a week or once every 2 weeks, just walk around the shop and be like, how you guys doing? What's going on?
Yeah,
how are you feeling?
Whatever's comfortable, I think. I would go certainly no less than twice a year. But I think quarterly is good. But honestly, some people meet with their teams weekly. Some meet monthly. I think weekly is a lot.
I guess it really all depends on the size of your team too. Like if you have 10 people, it's like once a week I can walk around and just be like, how are you doing? Like how's your week? How's things?
Right. If you have 40 people, it's pretty hard to check in with everybody every week. But we check in with everybody once a month and do, X number of people per week each month. So on the third Thursday, you're always meeting with X person, or X people, in short 10-minute one-on-ones or 15-minute one-on-ones. That also, again, just flexibility. I really dislike the annual review system, and I think it should be banished. But that's an option as well.
It's funny. Like I fully agree with you. Like I'm more the casual check-in and walk around and say, hey, and see how things are going. And I've never done a sit down like, hey, let's go through these 9 questions, or how do you feel about working here, and blah, blah, blah. Like give them something to review the shop or whatever. I don't know. I never really was against it. It just wasn't my style of check-in.
Yeah, I would say that as far as for feedback about performance, the walking around and giving immediate positive and negative, not negative, but constructive feedback is the best way. It's the best way. You see somebody doing a good job, you tell them in that moment, this is great. You've done a fantastic job. And you make sure that people know that they've done a fantastic job, because that really helps them. And if they need to have some sort of constructive support on how to perform better, don't do that publicly. Pull them aside, say, hey, look, I think it might be better if you do X, Y, and Z. I would like you to try it this way, whatever. That's optimal. But I still think that if you are not talking to them in a one-on-one situation about, are you happy? How's it going? Whatever, you should implement that, All
right. I'm going to ask you a question. How do you, because I struggle with this, and I don't mean this, like, it's hard for me to convey it, is what I'm trying to say, is like, how do you try to get people, friends, family, employees, I guess the most, to get people to feel heard and seen without it seeming super like disingenuous? Like I have a hard time, because that's not my personality in most cases. It's not my personality to be like, oh, like tell me all these things and like, how are you feeling? And this, like, it feels like I'm forced to do it when I do it. You know what I mean? And I feel like it comes off to them of like, he doesn't give a shit. He doesn't care. He's just going to like, his eyes are going to gloss over when I start talking. And then when I'm done, he can be like, cool, I checked in, and walk away.
Yeah.
Like, it's not, but that's not my intention. Like, I genuinely care about them. I genuinely want to help them.
Yeah.
It's just not my personality to be like, oh, tell me about your time. And like all these other, like, it's just not in me normally, but I am trying to be better. I am trying to do this in a better way. Like, do you have any recommendations or tips on how to check in with somebody where it might not be forced feeling, or like, oh, he's just checking the box?
Right. Well, so a couple of things. One, again, it's not flipping a switch. You don't go from being a person who has a good rapport for that sort of thing, from not being there to being there. Again, it's a learned behavior, right, for a lot of people. So it starts with, when you're walking around the shop floor, start to open the door by, being cordial. How was your weekend? How are the kids? How's the wife? How's the kids? How's this? How's that? Oh, they're a sports fan. Maybe they're a big,
sure was hot today.
Yeah. Maybe they're a big, Jets fan. And then you talk to them about the Jets. Like, find a point of connection and start building connection through that. Then, as far as, like I suggested, doing a one-on-one, just say, how are you doing at the company? How do you feel? Where do you see yourself? Do you want to grow? Do you want to do other things? That just comes with practice and time. And then, honestly, acting on it. So if they provide you information and you do nothing with it, then they're going to think that you're just checking a box. But if they,
I'll be 100% honest with you. That kicked me in the face last week. And I got talked to by my friends. And I talked about this on the last episode, where basically I am so overwhelmed with things going on here and in my own life and in whatever, that like, I just kind of barricade myself in my office and I start going through my emails. I go through my own checklist. And then when people come in with things that actually need to be done, they say to me like, hey, this is broken, or this is happening, or whatever. And I go, I'm on it. I'll get to it. I can probably do it later today. And then my problem is a bunch of other shit happens today and I don't get to it today.
Right.
And then my intention was to help them. My intention was, I will do it. I will get to it.
Right.
But they heard that I will do it today, and I didn't do it today. Then it's instant, like, pissed off at me.
Right.
Because there's this list of things. Right. And that's the problem, is that I genuinely want to help them. Like, I want to do this thing. I just have a list a mile long.
Right.
And I will get to it. But what I need to start doing is being like, I hear you. You're hurt. Like, you're seen. It's on my list, and I will get to it as soon as I can get to it. I'm not exactly sure when that is.
Right.
But again, I don't normally talk like that. And that's my problem, is like, I don't normally have this whole like list of how I should respond to this. I'm usually just like, yeah, like, on it. Cool. Thanks.
Yeah.
Like, I'll do it. And then that bites me in the ass, because they see this like, oh, I walked in with an issue, or I walked in with this thing, and he just brushed me off to get me out of his office.
Right.
When it's like, that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just like, I'm buried. Like, my hair is turning gray.
Right.
Like, I have headaches every day. Like, I'm trying so hard to keep the wheels on to this place.
Right.
And you just added another thing to my list.
Right. So I have a lot of thoughts about that. And so it starts with you. For one, it sounds like you are in desperate need of an executive assistant to try and help you manage your workload. And that's the person that can go through 30 emails for you in an hour. And that's the person who can keep the and triage list. And that's the person that somebody will come to and say, hey, this broke, it needs to be fixed. And they will manage expectations accordingly and say, okay, I'm putting it on the list. Would you rank this as like an immediate need, something that could wait a couple of days? Like, what's this, and give it assign it a time period of reasonable response time. So there's things to do. As an owner, you are, again, spinning all the plates, but like the guy that I ended up doing the HR gig, the plates are going to start to fall, because you're human. You are who you are. You are one person, and you cannot literally do everything yourself. And I think that is a real problem with small business owners. I just did a coaching session with some business owners out west, and they had similar issues, and they're really, really, they seemed like this was their dream and it's turning into a nightmare, because of the
Well, the
pressures.
hard part is not to get super personal, but again, like they see it as the company as like a task that is a mechanical thing.
Right.
They don't think about me as a human being and like I have good intentions. Like, dude, it's me. You know what I mean? Like I'm your friend. Like I will do this. Like I want to help you. It just instantly goes into this didn't happen. Like fuck him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it goes into like, it's like, dude, give me a little bit of grace. And again, like my friends will give me the grace, but it's still, it's like.
Yeah, I think it's a managing expectations. So you can't overpromise when things will happen. It's a little bit like we talked about earlier with the job descriptions. Don't overpromise. Don't tell people that things are going to be this way when you don't know that for sure. So don't overpromise. That's one thing. The second thing is you can be vulnerable with your employees, but only to a certain degree. They do not want to hear that the guy who is at the top of the heap, who has in their minds makes all the money, blah, 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 lives the life, is the big dog, is, oh, cry me a river. You can't fix my thing, but you're going to hold me accountable if something goes wrong out
I
here.
can't fix your thing because I was too busy on my boat all weekend.
Yeah, right,
you know
right.
I mean? Yeah.
Look, that exact scenario has come up where somebody's like, nobody likes me. Why don't they like me? I'm like, because you don't pay them enough and they see you on a yacht every weekend, off on the Atlantic coast. Like, dude, it's not that hard.
Yeah.
This is how you figure it out. But so you want to manage expectations. You can be vulnerable and say, hey guys, I really do want to do this for you. And when I tell you that I'm trying, I am genuinely trying. It is on the list. I'm triaging. I'm doing the best I can. But at some point, they don't want to hear it. At some point, you have to look at how you are managing this business and acknowledge that you need help and then put the people in place to help you.
I fully agree. And I apologize to everybody and I talk to everybody about everything. And, I own it. Like, I know I'm falling short on this. I know that I promised that it was going to happen on these days and it didn't happen. And, I was gone last week in Florida to visit Christina and whatever. And that's just something that I need to do. But the whole week before, I did like 6 projects.
Yeah.
I was like every day, or I'm staying late after work and I'm going to start doing these projects. I'm going to start tackling these things. And like, I genuinely want to do these things though. Like
and there's that
I hear
dread
them.
of coming back from being away because you know that a whole week's worth of stuff in addition to the regular stuff is waiting for you. So that's a terrible feeling. Yeah. I think that, and this isn't just you, Dylan, this is everybody who's a small business owner, or most people who are small business owners go through this moment. And this is that moment where you say, am I at a tipping point? I need to add a position. And for people who, like you, are experiencing this sort of overwhelming sense of, I have so much to do and not enough time to do it. And I don't know what I don't know. So I'm maybe not in regulatory compliance, whatever. That's when you need to look at adding one person who can wear 2 hats, or, adding a part-time position for this thing and a part-time position for that thing. There is a moment in the growth of a business, and I've never owned a business, so I do not know this from personal experience, but for having witnessed it, there is a moment where it's like, okay, we are stalling out and we are not going to go forward, or I'm just going to be so burnt out, I'm walking away. I'm going to sell everything I have. I'm just going to go, hide in a cabin in the forest because
You literally just took words that actually came out of my mouth of like, fuck it, burn it down. I'm going to go live in the woods. I don't want to see another human. I'm just going to grow all the hair on my body and become one with the forest.
Yeah, I'm going off grid. I'm just doing it. Yeah. So the business will not thrive and will not perhaps survive if you don't address the issue of the fact that you are just one person and you are at a tipping point now where there needs to be more than just you that handles certain things. And so again, that's the sort of thing that, people, when I'm the HR wingman, I do the coaching stuff and all that thing. That's what I do, right? I'll talk to people and I'll say, okay, it sounds to me, I've heard you and this is what it sounds like to me needs to happen. And I'm not saying I'm always right. I'm not any of that.
I think the biggest part of that is what I realized over this last like month or so is that I do need to own up on certain things, and I do need to be accountable, and I did need to apologize for certain things that I was doing. And I do need to make some of these things on this list a priority. You know what I mean? Like there's certain things where it's like I hear it and then I hear it and then I hear it. And in my mind, I'm like, oh, well, it's not that big a deal. But then when something blows up and it becomes a big deal, I'm like, well, honestly, I didn't quite realize it was as big of a deal as it was to you.
Right.
You know what I mean? I might hear that something's broken or something and I'm like, oh, okay, like I'll get to it. But like in reality, I need to ask them right then and there, like what is the priority level of this? And like, how can I help and how can I take care of it? And again, I first want to remedy what it is that I need to do and grow as a human being to make it better. And then if I do all those things and I still am overwhelmed, then maybe I'll like hire an assistant or something to do those things as well. What I don't want to do is like, okay, well, fuck you guys, not my problem. Just hire somebody and be like, okay, well, this is the Band-Aid for this situation.
Right. Yeah, I think that's right. Like you can try and improve your processes. And again, I can help with that or, whatever, somebody can help with it to like a third party can listen. Okay, you have a pinch point here. You have a process here that's, that could be streamlined. You might be able to have AI review your emails. You may have to automate some other things, have a red, yellow, green light thing on, requests for service or other things in the shop. There's ways that maybe you can streamline it and maintain without adding employees for sure.
Yeah.
But you have to go through that checklist and go through that process. And then, like you said, determine, okay, I've done what I can to streamline it on my own. It's still not working. And I honestly, I'm going to challenge you saying, I don't care about you. I'm handing it off to somebody else. They may be really grateful to have some dedicated person. And
I'm sure they would. Yeah. I'm not saying they're like stoked that I'm like kind of doing some things.
Yeah.
I'm just saying me as a person, like as growth, like I don't want more than anything, which sucks, is like I got in this to make fun shirts and like I got in this because I love it. And I made a place where I can hang out with my friends.
Yeah.
24/7 and I can put cool shit here and I can live the life I want to live.
Right.
What I don't want to do is turn this into a meat factory.
Right.
I don't want it to be like, oh, well, this is where my income comes from and everything's a handoff. And then I'm barely here. I barely see any shirts being made. And then I just sell the company and I go sit on a beat. Like it's not my goal at all. Like what I want to do is I want this place to be where people that work here feel welcome. They feel happy. We can listen to loud music. We can play basketball. We can grill. We can print shirts.
Yeah.
And we all get paid well and we go home.
Yeah. That's very intentional. And I think that's good. You have a vision and staying with your vision, I think is really good. There was a print owner I talked to many years ago in San Diego, and he said he came into the industry out of something else. I don't know. It just kind of fell into it. And he said, okay, I don't want to get huge. I don't want to be huge. I want to do really good work. And I'm telling people I'm not going to be the fastest printer, but you're going to get the best quality material out of me. But I'm not going to, when you place an order on Friday and you want it on Sunday or Monday morning, I'm not going to make my people grind it out all weekend just because you didn't plan ahead, right? I'm not your guy for that. Go to somebody else. But if you want a really, really good quality product and I want to keep my people happy in my workplace and I want to have manageable limits on what is expected, then I'm going to be very intentional. I'm going to be honest with you about what that is. And that sounds like where you are. You want to be very intentional about your growth. You want to be very intentional about how the business is perceived internally and what the expectations are of your customers.
Yeah. And I mean, that's true. And there's some other things that I came to terms too with all of this is like you said, I don't want to work the employees to the bone in the busy season either. I don't want to be like, all right, well, we have more work than we can take and we're all just going to grind or we're going to work till 9 p.m. It's like, I'm working on a outsourcing network right now of like, hey, we got this person who wants 800 shirts. So it's a 10 color front, 10 color back, 1 color sleeve, and they want it by next week. And it's like, do I pull it in and be like, all right, guys, we're just going to do this and we're going to work hard and get it done? Or do I be like, hey guys, like next week just as normal. We're going to work 9 to 5 and I'm going to outsource that job and we're going to just like keep going.
Yeah.
Like
And I think that's really smart. Like having that network, and then those bigger shops may throw some smaller bids at you that they can't take on. And so it may, in the end of the day, be a really profitable relationship for you. But also, you know, um, the morale of your team is really important. And so if you even go to your team and say, okay, we got this thing, I'm inclined to let it go and to source it out, unless you guys want the extra money or whatever, you can link bonuses to it and then just put it to a vote. It depends, how you run your shop and what you want to do. But
I agree with that, because the thing is I could look at it and as the owner and be like, okay, well, this is going to be, I'm just throwing a random number. Say it's like $4,000 job where I'm going to make $4,000 profit or something. That $4,000 to me isn't worth ruining the morale of the whole shop for like 2 weeks or whatever it is, pissing everybody off. Like, why did he have to take this job? This job sucks. Yeah. Now I have to work late and I have to do this and I'm going to miss this thing and whatever. It's like, it's not, in the grand scheme of it, it's not worth it. Like, it's not worth the issue. I would rather send it out and just tell the customer no. Like, I'd rather be like, hey, like, we can't do this, than to just say yes to everything and then piss everybody off. And then it's just more of a headache than it's worth.
Right. Yeah. That's where that intentionality comes. I'm going to provide this sort of workplace. Now, if you have people who, there's a job that comes to you in November and everybody's going to make a good amount of money doing this kind of oppressive job, but Christmas is coming and that extra money is going to make it worth it for them to work that extra time because they need the money because of the holidays, then take the job. But that's the intentionality where you really consider the needs of the team, the toll that it takes on morale. And you mentioned like for 2 weeks, everybody's going to be pissed off. Well, that's true, but that's also going to sit in their brains for a really, really long time. Right. And each time it's like pebbling, right? The little pebble is dropped into the cup. And each time that's asked of them, another pebble goes in the cup. And at some point the cup tips over and they're going to be like, I'm done. I cannot do it. Morale has been broken.
One of my best friends here always calls it a rocky shore of despair.
Yeah.
That's when all this just keeps piling up and I'm eroding away at their soul.
Right.
Right. Yeah, I fully get that. Well, that being said, like, how do you, I guess that being said, how do you determine like fair wages for different roles in your company? Like, do you just hire everybody at a starting rate and then it grows for how long they've been there? Or do you feel that it's kind of like this rate is for this type of job and this rate's for this type of job and you can never escape this pay until you do this thing? Or does everybody's pay just go up all the time and it's just a free for all?
Well, compensation is so complicated. It depends on your competition for workers in the region where you are. So, if you have, it's a supply demand situation. And if there are not many workers, then it means you have to keep up with whatever the prevailing wage is in the area to get workers of that skill. So that's one part of it. And then if you have existing workers that have been there 8 years and are making the same thing that you now have to pay new workers, then that's called wage compression. And you need to bump them up so that they don't hate the people that just came in that have no skill but are making the same amount of money, right?
Yeah, so, that's an issue that I deal with from time to time is
wage
someone comes in.
Is very prevalent right now because of the supply demand issue. So, and you can do that incrementally. Right. I just always
have this thing of like, you hired somebody for a lower, I don't want to say a lower position, but a position where it doesn't
less skill.
It's more, it's less skill or more monotonous tasks or something.
Right.
And then they're here and they get an incrementally like a raise and things go up or whatever. But then you're like, oh, I really need somebody for this position, which is a little bit different, maybe a little more complicated. But then they come in and they're like, well, I have to make this amount of money. And you're like, well, I really need this person and it's a good fit and this whole thing. And then it's like, all right, well, I just hired somebody for the pay that someone else grew up to over the last 3 years.
Right.
And they're starting at that. And it's like,
right. And
do you just give everybody a raise at that point so that it's like they feel like, how do you manage that is what I'm saying. Like, and then also is it legal to say like, you guys should not talk amongst yourselves about wage. And it's like, they do.
Yeah.
So how do you protect yourself in that
Well, here's the
situation?
thing. You can say it, and sometimes that is breaking some sort of law or regulation. Sometimes it's not. It depends. But everybody's going to do it anyway. So don't even
Right.
bother trying to ban it, because it won't matter. People are going to...
I feel like as soon as you say that out loud, it's like children, where they're going to be like, oh, why did he bring that up? What do you make?
That's exactly
What do you
right.
make?
Right. That's exactly right. They know that you're trying to hide something. So
Right.
I wouldn't say it. People are hesitant to talk about wages in generationally in different ways. The comfort level of older people to talk about wages is very discomfort. They don't like it. The younger people will immediately talk about what they're making. So it just depends, right? It just depends. But I wouldn't bother banning it, because you might be violating some sort of law or regulation, but also it's just going to cause
The
them
truth
to
is
wonder
that
what
I'm not trying to hide anything. I'm
No,
not
of course
trying to be shady. I'm not trying to underpay somebody or anything. I'm just
Right.
saying that, like, I don't know necessarily how to navigate the
Right.
constant changes of
Right. So
what is this job worth and this job's this. And then
Right.
when someone has an issue where they're like, I feel like I should be paid this because this person's paid this. And it's like, yeah, but this person does this,
Right.
and you don't necessarily do that.
It's an equation, or in the lexicon of the moment, an algorithm, where you should rank, if you are able, rank things by skill position. So is this a level 1 skill position, which is stocking shelves in a warehouse? Is this a catcher that folds t-shirts, or is this a level 4 position? It's somebody who works a pretty complicated press and does a lot of things.
Right.
So, and then falling in between. So don't add, maybe 4 or maybe 5 skill levels at the most, and then rank positions by skill. Then within each skill set, create what you think is a fair wage range. And so somebody who's in a level 1 skill position will start here and they will top out here. Level 2 will start somewhere in the middle of the level 1 range and top out higher up. And then...
So again, like you said before, is it's like, be very transparent and clear up front of like, you are at a level 1 and the pay range is,
right,
$17 to $20 or something.
Right. And when you meet with people quarterly and you say, well, how are you liking things? Do you, where do you see yourself? And they may say, well, I'm in a level 1. I really feel like I can go up to level 2 pretty soon if there's an opening, or I'd like to learn the skills that will get me to a level 4 sometime over the next couple of years, and then you create a career pathway for them. So these aren't just jobs, they're careers, and people will stay because they know that there's a way to get higher wages. There's a way to get more skills. There's a way to learn. And you as an employer are investing in your employees, and that means a lot to them. They may not even realize what it means to them until later. But people who invest in their workers through training, through career development and that sort of thing, they will find that later on, when those people are offered jobs somewhere else, they're like, but I like working for Dylan, and he's really taken care of me, and he's shown me a way. And, for another $1 an hour, I'm not going to walk away from that, or another $2 an hour. It just doesn't make sense. He's really taken care of me. He's done a good thing. And I know that I'm going to get to a level 4 with Dylan.
Yeah.
And, I don't know that I'm going to get to a high skill position at the new place. And so it's going to help with retention.
Do you think that's something that every shop should kind of make and add to maybe like the employee handbook or something, is like this tier level system?
Right.
Or because I feel like it's hard now to say you have 20 employees or something, and you've had people here for 10 years. Now all of a sudden you're like, hey guys, we're implementing this like 4-tier system. And they're going to be like, oh, I'm a level 2. I thought I was a level 4.
Right.
And it's like,
right. And so it might be something where feelings are hurt or whatever, but also it's just progression of the company. Young nascent stage companies don't have all this stuff just automatically at the jump. Over time, your company becomes more sophisticated, and the blessing here is that your company has been successful and it's lasted over time and it's grown. And now you do have 20 employees instead of the 3 you started with. And you do have a big output. Whereas, you maybe did $300,000 worth of business your first year, you're doing millions of dollars worth of business, down the road. they expect it, and if they don't, they should expect that the company will evolve and change. It's to their benefit, even if they don't realize it. But also, if somebody comes to you and says, "I really thought I was a whatever," and you can say, "Look, it doesn't matter. You can be a level 4. You just got to work towards it. Maybe you're growing. Maybe you're going to lose people. There's going to be opportunity at higher levels down the road. I'm happy to get you there."
I love that basically, like, I'm learning from you during this episode, but a lot of what you're saying in a nice way is like, Dylan, like, put your big boy pants on and just fucking have the hard discussions. And I mean, it's true. Like, I think that's something I definitely will start looking at. I will start looking at this like level system of being like, because I feel like that's going to save me a lot of heartache down the road of like, hey, like, I would love for everyone to work up to this like level 4 thing or whatever. Or maybe you're just going to always be a level 1. Like, that's what you were hired for. That's what you want to be. You don't ever want to do anything else. And that's just what it is. But also, then you need to realize that the pay structure for that is topped out at this.
Right.
And like, as long as you're cool with that, then.
Yeah, like somebody who's like maybe going to school, but putting themselves through school, so they work and go to school. They may never want to go past a level 1, because level 1 is the level of expectation and responsibility that they want, which is to say low, which means they walk out of there and they don't think about work again, because now they're thinking about school or their other job. Maybe it's a 2 jobs scenario, whatever it is. But also, I think, look, you're not alone. Everybody, the secret, here it is. Here's the secret to life: managing expectations. I said this before, I'll say it again.
I fully agree at the point I'm at in my life right now.
Yeah.
I feel like that really is the secret to getting by without getting stabbed.
Well,
is like
in your professional environment, in a personal environment, in relationships of all types, whether it's with your employees, with your friends, your managers, or your family, or whatever it is. Managing expectations. Do not overpromise. Let people know where they are. Let people know where you are, and don't misrepresent what the possibilities. Right? Be straightforward to the degree you are able about. You are a level 1 skill employee. We don't have a lot of movement. I think I can get you to level 3 in the next 2 years, because I see this much expansion happening, but I don't know for sure. I'm not going to promise it, but I will do what I can to move you up the chain. And if a position opens up, then you'll be ready. I mean, it's managing expectations.
I feel like I'm going to say this for the people who are listening that are grew up a certain way, or like me, where my biggest struggle in life, I feel like, is I'm a people pleaser.
Yeah.
And it's hard for me to be a business owner and a people pleaser at the same time.
Yeah.
I'll own it. Like, I understand. I know fully that that's who I am. That's what I am. And I'm also I like to tell stories, like true stories, but like, I like to like embellish things and like make things exciting and like whatever. And it's like, people pleaser and the person who likes to tell stories, it's really hard for you to be that direct, under promise over deliver kind of person.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like those kind of people get kicked in the teeth more in life in those scenarios, because they maybe are too optimistic or too trusting or too, they just want to make the people around them happy. But really what they end up doing is pissing everybody off, because they're not living on this level. And then when things happen, they're like, oh, cool, it happened here. They live up here, and then they don't deliver on the stuff down here. And it's kind of like, I don't know. It's hard. Like, again,
I'm a recovering people pleaser. This is my job. And when I get feedback at my work, it's like, I say yes too much. I say yes to too many things. Right. So,
yeah. I mean, I get it. Again, like, this is maybe TMI, but like, I was married for 18 years, and I feel like during that whole time I was an ultra people pleaser, and that's what bit me in the ass. And then after that whole thing, I'm realizing I can't just do everything for everybody. I need to do some shit for myself, and I need to set expectations, and I need to do things a different way. So again, like, I am learning right now. I'm not being like, I have the answer. I'm figuring shit out as I go. And it's, I'm also trying to translate a lot of that stuff into my business. Of
right.
like,
And to that point, I think it's a really important point. Like you just, shared this sort of vulnerable thing about, 18-year marriage that didn't quite work out how you intended. So a couple of things. Every single person in the workplace, whether it's the owner or the lowest person on the totem pole, we all bring our personal experience to work with us. Whether we think we do or not, we do. We all bring all those sensitivities, all those expectations, all that stuff, all those lessons that we've learned in our personal life come to work with us. And can be extremely difficult for people to manage, because we don't know that baggage, right? We don't know what weight somebody is carrying with them, or what past experience they got burned so they don't trust anybody, or whatever it is. We don't know all of that. And so that is one way when, back an hour ago when we talked about, how do you be a person who opens up or whatever, that's the sort of empathy. That's the message you carry in your brain. You don't know what somebody's going through at any given time and what baggage they're bringing into the workplace. And so tread lightly and be open-minded and not judgmental, right? Try to be accepting and open to information that you're receiving without labeling it. So that's a really important lesson, I think. And I do think that, there is hope for the storytellers of the world. I mean, your name is Dylan, and I'm going to guess that you're Irish because your name is Dylan.
I am.
And I feel like you're like a Shawnee. You're a guy who's a storyteller, who's an empath, like you're a people pleaser. So you're kind of maybe a unicorn in the world of people who own businesses because because there's a lot.
How they're going extinct and they get hunted for their horns?
Yeah, yes. a little bit. So I feel like, you could rename Upstate Merch to Shawnee, but nobody would know what that meant. But in any event, I feel like, it's really important for us to understand that, yes, we are humans. Yes, we bring all of the lessons of our lives, as do our team and our employees, into the workplace. And that is, HR is complicated. People are complicated. And so trying to uncomplicate it by having processes, procedures, managing expectations, it takes a little bit of the sting out of the day to day. And if you don't have those things in place, the sting is coming. It's coming.
Oh, I agree. I'm with you on that whole thing. And again, like I always am trying to own it of like, I get it. I'm trying to do better, guys. Like
and this isn't me being critical of you. This is just me.
No. Yeah, I know. I'm saying I
push this stuff.
I believe you, and I'm on your side with this of like, this is something. And again, I mean, in reality, that's what this whole podcast thing is like, for me, I've been doing it for 5 years, and it's a weekly therapy of, how do I be better at this whole industry and thing as well? Like, I like to learn from every guest too, of like, I don't want to be like here and then the guest is here and I'm like, oh, you should do this. Like, I want to be like, oh, I learned some shit from you. Like, I'm happy to learn all of these things from you and implement them in my own life and shop and everything else. So,
well, you're kind of, you're the kind of the straw man. You're the guy who's speaking for the small business owners, the smallish screen printers. I don't know the range, but you're in that range where you still know what it's like to have a small business, but your business is growing. And so now you speak for the new business, the business that's at the tipping point, the growing business. You cover a big, big range. And so you're learning on behalf of everyone. So everybody gets to learn with you because you're the straw man for learning. And that's good. I mean, that's really good. I think it's a great approach to the podcast. And, to the extent that I can help people by giving some sort of advice about how to manage the human capital, then great. Terrific. I'm here for
and like my whole approach to this whole thing is like, I feel like I went the hard way on most things to try to learn this business or learn life or learn this or whatever. And like a lot of the reasons why I will be vulnerable, I will say the truth about my own business and not everything's sunshine and rainbows is, there's so many people who reach out that are kind of like, oh, I'm going through a similar thing or, this happened or whatever. And it's like, yeah, dude, like, it's okay. Like, it's real. Like, we can learn through this together. We can all share all this knowledge. We can all grow, because what I don't want is and this is my empath, whatever, is like, I don't want the next person to get kicked in the teeth. I want them to hear this now and be like, oh, you know what? I am at this level and I want to add this tier system or add this type of HR or this thing. And then I saved one person from a shitload of heartache, or that their doors had to close because this happened or the other thing or whatever. And it's like, I think that's awesome. Like, I think that's my goal. But with that being said, is there any useful HR tools or software, or now AI is out?
Yeah.
Is there stuff that people can implement that might not necessarily be a human, but has some good benefits?
Oh my gosh, yes. Here's the thing. You don't necessarily have to hire somebody to do all these things like track PTO, do payroll, do benefit stuff. You can hire a company to do that for you. There's a ton of what in the old days were called payroll companies, but now are just sort of HR platforms that cover a whole gamut of things. There's a lot of them, and they do have, I think, because there's a lot of competition in that environment, I think you can negotiate a pretty decent rate to have them help you. It's not going to be, cheap, but it may not break the bank either. And I would suggest that if you are feeling really overwhelmed by all that, hire one of them, because they will have levels of service, including every bit of legal compliance that you have to worry about. They will do it all. Like, they will go from very little, just running your payroll, to literally doing everything in your space, but for meeting with people one-on-one and firing them. Right. So,
Right.
So it takes a lot of that anxiety about compliance out of the mix. And so, but if you do have an HR person, there's people like me that can help with questions about compliance and other aspects, and provide some sample policies and procedures and all that kind of thing, and coach. So there's, you can have an association back you up, but there is software. There are companies that will provide that and do the payroll and withhold the right amount of taxes and do the 401k or simple IRA stuff. Like, all that stuff can be automated. And my other cautionary tale is do not trust AI to be accurate. And in fact,
You shouldn't do that at all.
Yeah,
Like,
I forget.
that's not just an HR thing.
ChatGPT, Sam, whatever. He just came out a couple of days ago and said, I am shocked that people trust ChatGPT to do all this stuff. And if the guy who created it is shocked that people trust it, don't trust it, right? I mean, it can perform tasks for you, but, in the famous words of Ronald Reagan, trust but verify, right? Go make sure that the information you're getting is accurate. So don't rely on
I think
AI to do your
people are
HR
just
stuff.
inherently lazy, and they see it as a shortcut now of like, instead of this or this, I'm just going to put it in and I'm going to copy and paste. And like, so many people don't even read it. Like, they might read the first couple lines and they're just like,
we can have a 2-hour sesh about the problems with AI, and it starts with the dumbing down of society and goes from there. So yeah, I could do that too. That's another topic.
I mean, not to get too much into it, but yeah, I use it all the time for certain things, but 99% of the time I'm tweaking most of it. Like, it gives me the framework of an email or a blog post or something. And then I go back through and I add, I might spend an hour and a half going through and like changing everything.
Right.
But at least it gave me a framework of like, oh yeah, like I can get through this and actually get this task done.
Right.
But I feel like a lot of people are just like, boop, copy, paste, done, sent out. And it's like, come on.
That's the
guys.
trust but verify part. If you don't know if you're being compliant with something, you can ask AI, what is the law in this place on this issue? But then when they give you things, there'll always be little links there. Check the links, make sure it's accurate. And they've cut down your research time, but they haven't removed your responsibility to verify.
All right, I got one more HR question before I ask you some personal questions. Can you give me anonymous worst HR stories that you've had to deal with?
I've used this story as my worst HR story for a number of years, but it continues to be, I think, my worst HR story, which is a company that had a husband and wife work at the company, but they worked in separate areas and, in fact, different buildings that were side by side, but they were different buildings. And the husband was found, it was determined that the husband was having an affair with one of the people he supervised. The wife didn't know, but then the person he supervised was pregnant and was going to their appointments, their OB appointments. They had cleared ahead of time with HR, but then HR realized that the supervisor, the husband, was also taking more PTO at exactly the same time as those appointments.
To go to the appointments with her?
Yeah, so then they realized that A, there was an affair, and B, he is the father of the child, and the wife had no knowledge of this. And so how do you protect the privacy of the employees, but also resolve this situation, which is where a manager is having an inappropriate relationship with an employee that has become, illegal, and how to manage that situation. So that was a very complicated little task, but yeah.
And you had to deal with that situation?
I was called in to get my support on that issue, to wingman that issue. Yeah.
Not to get too deep into it, but what do you do in that situation? Is there like a law being broken, or
Yes.
is it just a bunch of dramatic stuff?
Both. Yeah, both. And so the person who is the supervisor having the inappropriate relationship with an employee, that has to not happen anymore. And he needs to be moved out of his position and probably fired. And then
so what happens is the unassuming wife just gets the company, and the husband
the wife doesn't even know about the affair or the baby, and is not allowed to know, because those are confidential HR issues. You can't.
Oh, really? She couldn't be told?
So she cannot be told. And then the husband gets fired, but the wife is like, "Why did you fire my husband?" And then you end up losing the wife because she's mad that you fired the husband. She has no idea why you fired the husband, because you can't talk about. Yeah, it gets pretty complicated. And you can't and you can't do anything with the employee who's pregnant. That's potentially a very damaging lawsuit. So yeah, it's really hard.
Because you can't do anything with that either, because you can't let them go when they're pregnant and whatever, and you have to guarantee their job when they come back and stuff, right? To a degree.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah.
Dang, that's messy. I don't.
That's the messiest one I've encountered. There's been.
See, you went deep into this emotional thing when earlier I asked you one little thing, and you were like, "Oh, if someone calls and says my employee threatened to kill me."
Yeah.
I was hoping you had a story as well of oh yeah, there was this guy who was afraid for his life, and
those are actually, the employee threatened to kill me is a fairly easy problem to resolve. That's fairly straightforward, but it's weird and shocking when you hear it. But yeah.
Awesome. I like those too. All right, I got some quick takes for you.
Right.
Normally the question is what shirt has your shop printed that you're most proud of? But I can say, what HR problem came across your desk that you are the most proud of fixing or resolving?
I think it's converting a toxic employee to a productive person on the staff that isn't toxic anymore, and really
with the coaching.
Yeah, with the coaching. I consider those the biggest wins.
If you could snap your fingers and change one major thing about HR, what would it be?
I'd make it less complicated, easier to comply with the laws, because the people who are in those roles are not lawyers, and it's hard. Makes
sense. Top 4 favorite movies of all time.
Oh, I just had this conversation with some people. So in no particular order, but I think these fall in my top 5. I love the Terminator. The original number 1 Terminator is one of my favorite movies.
Damn, T1, not T2?
Yeah. They were the first original Terminator. I remember the day I saw it. I was babysitting my nephew, and I think I've seen that movie. I don't like to watch movies on repeat, so I've seen that movie probably 8 or 9 times, maybe more. I really like it. Back in the old days. And then
I gotta stop you real quick. Why don't you like watching movies over and over?
I don't know.
Because I am a cinephile. I love movies. It's one of my favorite things to do. But I love rewatching movies constantly. People ask me I just rewatched Shawshank a couple days ago. I'd probably seen that movie 50 times.
Yeah.
But it's different stages in your life.
Right.
You get different things from it. And you're like, oh my God, like now I understand why so-and-so did this or,
Right.
you know, whatever. And it's like, I constantly get new things out of it. So when people tell me like, oh, I just only like, I watch it once and I'll never watch it again.
Yeah.
It's kind of like,
I'll rewatch. I do.
you're solidified in that time of your life of how you understood that film.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. I do rewatch movies. I just don't rewatch them that many times.
Well, you did say you watched T1 8 times.
Yeah, so
I mean,
that's like, for me, that's a high number of rewatches, right?
Yeah.
But my other favorite movies are movies that you probably think are dumb. So I love the movie Stranger Than Fiction with Emma Thompson and Will Ferrell and Dustin Hoffman. That's one of my all-time favorite movies. Maggie Gyllenhaal's in that. I love the movie Wonder Boys. It's a Curtis Hanson movie with Michael Douglas and Frances McDormand.
I love Michael Douglas.
Yeah, Katie Holmes is in it. I think Tobey Maguire's in it. They're really young actors at the time. So those three are big. I love and this is a movie people don't love, but I love Ben Stiller's The Secret Life of Walter Mitty. I love that movie. I think it's a beautiful film. So there's that 4. And then honestly, I do like a good rom-com, but there hasn't been that many good rom-coms. But there's a Meg Ryan, Tim Robbins movie called IQ, where she's the niece of Albert Einstein. So
I love this question because it's simple in the fact of like, what are your top 4 or 5 favorite movies? But like you genuinely I feel like you can totally understand a person when you hear what movies they like. Like your number 1 was T1, which is shocking. I mean, it's great, but I'm just saying like to come in strong with, hell yeah, number 1, T1. And then you give me 4 other movies that are like deep emotional movies.
Yeah. Well, that's that like, badass empath thing that I have.
I'm just going to say your 4 were 100% like empath, like deep thinking, like people, like almost all of those movies are people talking about their deep feelings. And then T1 is just like, let's just fucking, the world's ending. Let's just blow some shit up. And there's like robots and, you know,
but
whatever.
But that's that whole save the world thing. I love it. And I love strong female characters. So Sarah Connor is really an icon for me. I love her.
So then did you like, what one was it? Was it like, it wasn't Salvation. It was like the 5th or 6th Terminator or whatever, where it was Sarah Connor younger.
Yeah, I didn't see it actually. Isn't that bad? I kind of
because that one's a very strong, like female character driven movie.
So you know what I'm going to watch tonight? I'm going to watch that.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Well, it kind of brings everything kind of back. I think it was maybe the latest Terminator that she was in, or maybe it was the one before. It was the girl who played Mother of Dragons in Game of Thrones. If you watched that at all. She was Sarah Connor.
Oh yeah,
I can't remember her name right now.
Yeah, I like a good, strong female lead for sure. That's important. Yeah. But so, what are your top 5?
Oh God, I've been asking this question a lot. I don't know if I can pull it up. I started making like a top 50 list for me because there's so many that like fall into. Well, is it a classic that I'll always love, or is it something that's like an important part of my life? But like some of my top favorites is Contact.
Oh yeah.
That's like one of my favorite movies. Yeah. The Thing is one of my favorite movies.
Oh, interesting.
A newer movie that really I super enjoyed, which was Hell or High Water.
Oh, feel like that's with Chris Pine, and that's
Ben Foster
Sheridan movie. It's on my list. I haven't seen it yet, but it's on my list.
It's like literally in my top 5 of all time. It's just like, it's one of those movies where it hits like real, like it's very real feeling, really deep feeling. It's about these brothers that basically, it's kind of almost a heist movie, but it's very, I really think you'll like it if you watch it.
I think I'll like it too, because
it's very, very good.
I like the characters. I like what you're describing it. And also, by the way, I love heist movies. So
heist movies. Well, Heat is like one of my favorite movies. And that's a heist movie. The Town is a heist movie, and which is very much based on Heat. I don't know. I have a ton. Like
Yeah.
Heavy Metal is one of my favorite movies of all time. It was like a cartoon from like the early 80s, like late 70s.
Yeah.
My entire arm sleeve is that movie.
Oh, wow.
It's very, very inappropriate for children, but I watched it as a child. And I think that's became part of my love for art and everything, because it's all basically an adult cartoon. It's not like adult in like, I mean, it is somewhat X-rated, but like it is, it's just a great thing, and I carried it with me my whole life. But I don't know, I really like sci-fi space movies. I like deep dramas. I like stuff that's real. I don't like stuff that seems like, oddly enough, I don't love comedies that much unless it's a classic comedy from when I was a kid, like Tommy Boy or something like that. Like I like when stuff like I don't like the Office. Like to me, I can't watch that show because it's not set in any reality for me. I'm like, this office could never exist. Like the people in this show would never exist.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't suck me in. Like I like when I'm watching something and I forget about life and I'm like fully engulfed in what is happening.
Yeah.
And I say that, but I like sci-fi movies and none of these are real.
Yeah.
But it takes me into another world. You know what I mean? Like it could be real in that scenario.
Right.
But when it's just people being like, doop, 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 like stupid comedy stuff, I'm like, this is fucking, I can't get sucked into this.
I'm kind of a fan of stupid comedies. Here's a movie that I probably should add to my top 5 and take something else out. Is a movie I saw a year and a half ago called Perfect Days. It's Wim Wenders' movie about a Japanese man who cleans public toilets in Tokyo. And it is a very, very quiet movie. It is unlike any movie I have seen before. And when I saw that movie, I saw it with my husband and my 2 kids, everyone's a cinephile in my house. I'm the least of the 4 of us. And all 4 of us like kind of different things. And all 4 of us thought it was a fantastic film, which I can't name on one hand has happened before, where all 4 of us felt equally enthusiastic about a film. And so that movie, Perfect Days, that movie I thought about every single day for months after I saw it. And then to this day, I think about it at least once a week. I think about that movie and the messages of that movie. And that is a movie that I actually was going to rewatch on Tuesday, which was my birthday, as like a birthday gift to me. But the train went off the tracks and I'm not at home. And so I haven't seen it. But again, watch it.
I love that the thing is that there are so many films out there, and people call them B movies or whatever, but it's like there's so many movies you should give a shot that have like genuine good stories, where it might be someone who created a movie that's only ever going to create one movie, but they put their whole heart and soul into it, and it has like this whole deep meaning. And so many people won't watch it because it's not like The Avengers or something. It's not some big blockbuster movie that. The thing is, a lot of soul gets sucked out of those movies just because I like watching them because it's eye candy, but it's not something that's like has super deep meaning. And it was all created by committees and people being like, well, we shouldn't put this in because it's going to piss people off, or we should make sure that this person's a woman because that's what's popular right now or something. It's like me and Christina just watched the new Mission Impossible.
I just saw it. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, here, I'll ask you this because you said you like strong, independent woman stuff, is we were leaning over and telling each other during the movie that I think this is one of the most well done movies of putting strong, independent women characters in without it being like, oh, did you see we put a woman in this movie?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like there were so many women who were like big parts of the storyline that were just there. Like everyone was an equal, the men, the women, whatever, they were all equals, but there wasn't just a bunch of guys with guns. It was like, no, there's this woman and she's very smart and strong and whatever. And she did this role. And then it was like, there were just so many mixed in that it was just like, these women are badasses in this movie.
Yeah, it was a very democratic process with the women.
But it wasn't like Wonder Woman where it was like, oh, look at us. We're like all woman strong. And then what was it like Avengers Endgame or something where all of a sudden there was a scene where every woman superhero showed up at the same time. And it was like this slow power stance thing. I was like, guys, this fucking sucks. Like, this doesn't make this doesn't make sense. This
Right.
isn't like pushing anything forward. This is just you pandering to
Right.
people.
One of my favorite moments, actually, of the Mission Impossible, as it relates to women characters, was this woman who lives, the native woman who's married to the nerdy computer guy.
And she was like
And
showing
she's
the girl how to do
hero.
everything.
Yeah, she's the damn hero because she gets everybody to that place on time to the submarine, and with her sled dogs, and she's like, you drive, I gotta sleep, and then I'm gonna take over.
She didn't even speak English,
right?
But that's what I mean. Is like she was a very strong, independent woman. She didn't need that guy.
Right.
They just fell in love and they lived there forever or whatever. But also Christina knows too. She's like, oh, that lady's a pilot too. She was like flying the plane or whatever at that one point. It's like, who is this woman?
Awesome. Yeah.
Like she's living off the land, and then all of a sudden she's a badass pilot and she's doing this and this. And it's like, it just wasn't put out there of like, oh, look at me.
Yeah.
It was just, oh, she can do this. And she's a strong character. And I'm just saying that like, there's things like that in movies that to me like stand out. And like, I'll think about it now in the time that the world is, but I could watch that movie in 20 years and be like, oh, I got a totally different meaning out of this. Not to say that Mission Impossible has deep meaning.
Right.
But,
right. I understand though. Yeah, no, you're exactly right. You're exactly right. Yeah. Stranger Than Fiction, I think of all the movies that I talked about, I think that one is one that I've seen it a number of times. And each time I watch it, there's something different that is highlighted for me in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
So that speaks to where you are in life.
It's always exactly. It's always worth a rewatch. Mm-hmm. Well, I really appreciate you doing this with me today. You were amazing. There was a lot of stuff that we covered. I feel like we could keep going, but we got to end it somewhere, and we both have things to do. I have to immediately like pack up and go do a live print after this, and I'm already like, I just want to go to bed. I
can't imagine how tired you are, but thanks for taking the time to talk to me, and
hell yeah.
Reach out anytime. And again, if you have people who are listening to this and reach out to me, and I'll try and help you. If you're not a member of the Alliance, you can join the Alliance. It's pretty cheap and inexpensive. We don't want to say the word cheap. We want to say it's a very affordable proposition to get a lot of support, but not just for me. Again, I want to highlight my colleague, Gary Jones, who you're going to talk to, because one lawsuit from OSHA, or in my case, the Department of Justice, EEOC, or a private citizen sues you, you're done. You're packing up. The whole mission could be lost.
Yeah.
And so having, people like Gary and I to support you, and we're here for you. Like, we get it. We're super on board to help the people in this industry succeed. So
yeah, and I feel like the Alliance is an amazing thing. And I had this discussion too of like, I pay, $400 to $500 just to be a member of my local chamber of commerce that does nothing for me.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just there to be a whatever and to be on this list of a local something or other. Yeah. And it's like, what if you paid that same fee for something like the Alliance for all year, and I get you, or I get Gary, or I get all this plethora of other things that you guys offer that actually will change my business and help me be a better company. Yeah. So that's why I want to have you guys on and showcase some of these things and some of these tools.
Thanks.
So I appreciate it.
Super appreciate it, Dylan. It's been a real pleasure chatting with you. And, I'm here if you need me, and we're all here if you need us. And, I look forward to getting to know more screen printers. So
I don't know. I wouldn't say that, but I mean,
no, I really do. I think it's cool. You guys make cool stuff. And if you're at the show, stop by and see me in the booth. And cool.
High fives all around.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, I appreciate you. Have a good day. And thank you very much.
You too.
I'll see you later.
Your live print.